If you are curious about AI workflow automations, if you wonder how can they save you time by reducing some repetitive work you might have there, or even how can you build and sell AI solutions to other businesses, then you are in the right place. And don't worry, there is no previous experience required. We will learn everything step by step here. You don't need any software development background or in fact any IT-related experience to start learning n8n and automations today. Believe me, you are in the perfect place. The only thing you need really is a laptop or PC and some spare time. In this training, you will learn how to run n8n as a native cloud solution or locally on your laptop, how to build automations, how to build AI agents, all step by step as I said, how can you connect your favorite apps and services together that can save you hours and hours of time. You will also see how to build AI solutions that you can even sell to other businesses. And you might be thinking now, Marek, how can I sell anything to other businesses if I don't even know what workflow automation is, or how to build an AI agent? But believe me, you can. I'm really glad that you made that decision to start educating yourself in that direction by choosing this course. You have to just give yourself a chance, that's all it is. All you need to do really is start today, and remember, the sooner you begin, the better. You'll already be ahead of 99.9% of people who have never even heard of n8n or workflow automations. You might have heard NVIDIA CEO say that AI will create more millionaires in the next 5 years than the entire internet did in over 20 years. And there are many reasons to believe that is true. And this training will give you all the skills that you need to understand how to build and run advanced AI solutions in n8n, and also how to start selling your work and your solutions to other businesses. But always remember, you don't have to take it too seriously. You can treat it as an after-hours fun. Maybe just start it as a little side hustle, creating some automations for yourself, and then maybe selling some of those solutions to your local businesses, just to see if this could be a career you'd like to pursue. You can't go wrong really, at the very least, you'll stay up to date with the most recent technology. But who knows, if you start making $1,000 or $2,000 a month as a side hustle, something you do after work, maybe at that point you'll decide to make it your main source of income and do it full time. Who knows? That of course it's your choice. And with n8n support for AI agents, this really is the platform to go for. It's no surprise its popularity has exploded recently, and I'm not surprised at all that you want to learn more about it. Let's waste no time then. I will see you in next episode where we'll prepare and run n8n software together. In this video, we will just focus on the installation part. n8n can be run either free of charge or as a paid service. And in this video, you will learn 3 different ways to run n8n on your local machine so you can use it free of charge. But first, I want to just make you aware of that paid option. If you go to that pricing tab, and those paid options are shown here, and those are the prices of using n8n in their cloud. With the cloud version, you don't have to worry about installation, servers or configuration. Everything is there, ready for you to use. The downside is that it costs money each month you want to use this platform. But the great thing about n8n is that it's open source product, which means you can pull entire code and install it on your machine instead of using their paid cloud solution. And you can see that GitHub icon in the top right corner, so if you click on it, you can basically see entire code that is used to run n8n software. And because it's an open source, there are many ways you can install it yourself. Running it on your server is called self-hosting, and that means you can use n8n free of charge. Okay, so let's do that, let's get started. We will go through 3 different methods to get it installed, and you only need to pick one of them. First 2 methods are Docker container based, and they are very similar to each other. The first method is where we run a simple docker run command, and the second way we will build a docker compose YAML file and we will run it using docker compose app command. And the third method, we will install it on Proxmox server with just one command using so-called community script, or helper script it's also called. And you can use official documentation from n8n. You can find a lot of information about installation and configuration here on the docs.n8n.io. Here is the Docker, for example, and we will use some of the commands from here to have it up and running. Alright, so first method, using Docker run, this one. This is my Ubuntu system, so it's a Linux based. Let me make it bigger. And you can run Docker containers on any operating system really. Here on Linux, you only need to install Docker, for example. But if you want to run them on Windows or Mac, they also let you run Docker containers, but you need to install additional software, like Docker Desktop. So you can simply Google how to install Docker Desktop or Mac, or how to install Docker Desktop on Windows, because it's not covered here, but just wanted to let you know that you can run Docker containers on Windows or Mac as well. But here on my Ubuntu, I don't need Docker Desktop. Linux can run Docker containers natively, I just need to install Docker. But before I do, I run that command. It's a sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get upgrade. And then I add -y. It's to simply answer yes to any questions that might, come up during this process. So I press enter, and it's sudo password. And that command is not Docker related, but you should always run it to have your system up to date before you do anything. But if I want to run Docker, I say Docker. You can see command Docker is not found, but it can be installed with any of those. And I'm not really a fan of snap, so I will just use this command. Sudo apt install docker.io. Just copy paste it. And that's it. Well, I didn't put -y, so I have to answer yes. And it might take a while, depends on your internet speed. But now we should have Docker up and running. So if I run systemctl status docker, I can see that it's indeed up and running for 12 seconds. Now next command is optional, but if I don't run it, I would have to run Docker with sudo, always, like sudo docker blah blah blah. I don't want to do that, so I can run this command instead. I run sudo usermod -ag, it's lowercase a and capital G, then docker and $user. That means current user, whoever I am, will be added to Docker group. I press enter, and then, to make it kind of live, I run a new grp docker. It kind of refreshes this group like you can also log off and log on, but this is easier option. Just run that new grp docker. Okay, so now, if I run docker command, you can see it gives me all options. I can run docker tag, docker stop, docker rm, etc. Maybe let me clear that. And to test Docker, there is a really nice command. It's docker run hello world. If I run that command and I get the output, that means everything works correctly. Docker can pull the images and all process works as expected. So let's press enter. It says unable to find image locally. That's true because I never run this command before, but it was able to pull this image. We can see it here, pull complete, and it says hello from Docker. That means I can be sure that Docker works as expected. This is a really good test. And that's basically it. We can now go to n8n and follow. There are actually just two commands we have to run. They say we have to create a volume first, that n8n data, because we will use that Docker managed volume. So that's fine. I will copy that. Maybe let me clear first. I will paste it. And the volume should be created. I can confirm running docker volume ls command. And indeed, I can see that local volume called n8n data has been created. And next, we just run this long command, docker run itrm name. Basically what it is, you run it interactively. This is about how to stop the Docker. This is the name of the container, port it's running on, and the volume we are using is that n8n data volume that we have just created. And if we go further, this is the image it will pull from docker.n8n.io website. Alright, so let's just copy it. Copy, paste. Again, unable to find locally, of course, because I have never run this command. This is fresh operating system, nothing is installed here, and again, it might take a while. The process is now completed. And you can see you can press O to open in browser, or you can simply copy this link, localhost on port 5678. So I just copy it, I will paste it in my browser, and go. And that's it, that's my n8n. That's the process nearly completed. We just have to set up the account. I mean, that's not the part of the installation, but maybe let's do that because I created like a test email. You can see n8n test email at protonmail.com, basically just for that. So we can use it here. It's Marek, put your name or whatever. You create a password and you just click next. I will save it. What describes my company? Business owner, myself. Doesn't really matter. Get started. And now you have that little button, send me a free license key. I mean, you can skip that, but you will have some extra options added if you put that license key. So let's do that. I will click that. Your license key is on the way. So I go back to my inbox and it should be shortly, hopefully, here. Alright, that's my free n8n license key. So I can activate it. You can do it like that, or you can simply copy this key, go to your n8n, go to that usage and plan, and you can paste it here. Enter activation key. Activate, license activated. Your registered community edition has been successfully activated. And you can see it here, you are on community edition and you are registered. Well, that was like extra information, but not part of the installation, yes? If we go back to terminal, you can see a new message, license successfully activated. And if I Ctrl+C here, it says stopping n8n, and now my website basically doesn't work anymore, yes? Because I stopped the service. And running it like that, I don't really like it, the docker run command. This is not like, doesn't feel right for me. I like to run Docker images at least in Docker Compose file. So let's create, it will be that second version, okay? Second way of running n8n. We will create a Docker Compose file. So I'm currently in my home directory, home Marek, and I can use like any text editor I want. You can use even Notepad on Windows or TextEdit on Mac. Here on Linux I've got, for example, Nano, and I create file called dockercompose.yaml. One second, let me just clear that. Nano docker compose YAML. And I can use that information from their website. I can use basically it. I can use this command and convert it to YAML. We have some ports, we've got the volume, we've got the Docker image. But to save some time, let me just show you something, okay? I will remove it. And this is it. This is what it looks like, the Docker Compose YAML. I don't want to bore you with the details how to translate that Docker run to Docker Compose, but basically that's it. That's my Docker Compose file. I press Ctrl+O, Enter, Ctrl+X, at least on the Mac, to save this file. So if I run cat Docker Compose, you can see that's what it looks like. Now the only important thing, I have to be in the same folder where this Docker Compose file is located. So if I run lsl, I can see I am here in my home directory. This is my home directory, and this is where I have my Docker Compose file. There is one more thing. If I run that cat command again, the volume, I wanted to match it to what we already had previously. We ran that docker run command, yes? And we created already this volume. It's called n8n data. I mean, I can run this command again, it doesn't harm. So basically I can run it now, and you should run it before you run Docker Compose really, because these volumes, n8n data, this external, it kind of expects this volume to be already created. So you need to run this command, if you haven't already, and make sure running docker volume ls, that indeed this volume is already here. And that's cool. However, if I run Docker Compose, it says it's not found, because Docker Compose, it's a separate component. It's not part of Docker. It's kind of like separate component, but we know it can be installed with sudo apt install Docker Compose. So let's copy that. I will paste it. Again, sudo password. Yes. And now Docker Compose has been installed. Which means now, let me maybe clear that again, I can simply run docker compose app-d. I press enter, and it created some network, it created the n8n container, and if I run docker ps, I can see that it indeed has been created. It's running for 12 seconds again, and I can connect to it on this first port, which is 5678. I mean, let me just cut it first. Basically, whatever you have here, you can't change this port. This is simply what application runs on. But if you want, you can change this port, this on the left side. So whatever I have here, I simply connect to it on the local host. So I go back again, HTTP localhost 5678. And if I click enter, you can see that it takes me straight to this landing page. It doesn't take me to this account creation, yes? Why does it do that? Because I matched this volume. This volume was already created. That means it doesn't matter if I run docker run or if I run docker compose app-d, we write simply to the same volume, to the same storage. Whatever I saved when I run docker run, I can also read from that location when I run docker compose app-d, because I use the same volume. I hope that makes sense. And if I want to stop it, I can say docker compose stop. If you run docker PSA, it will show us this container, but its status is exited. And then I can also remove it by running, let me clear, docker compose down. The good thing though is it will not remove this volume. As you can see, this storage is still there. And all my configuration, if I refresh here, well, we stopped the process, yes? But I can simply run, again, that docker compose app-d. And if I go again to the localhost, it will get me straight back to where I was before. That's why I like it. Alright, but let's just stop it. Docker compose down. Whoops. Down. It's now stopped. And let's go to the third option, how to install it, the n8n platform, as an LXC container on Proxmox. This is my Proxmox, and the fact is that the Ubuntu we worked on is also running on that Proxmox. It was this Ubuntu server with ID of 206, where we were running that Docker commands, but now I want to run it as standalone instance here on the Proxmox server. So what I can do, I can simply Google Proxmox helper scripts, and just click on the very top link, and we can see that View Scripts button. And here I can just search for n8n. And we can see it in Internet of Things and Smart Home section. So let's click on that. That's the n8n. And all you have to do is to copy this link. You get this little message, be careful when copying scripts from the internet, always remember to check the source. That's a good advice, and you can check the source by clicking this button, Star on GitHub. It will open a new tab, and you will actually see what is the code and what it does. But I have already checked that, so I can just copy this, and then I go to my Proxmox, to PVE, or whatever your node is called, to the shell, and I simply paste this command here. And when you press enter, it will take you through that interactive process. And the simplest possible way is to just use that default settings. And it's really nothing to show here. If I press enter, it will just go through this process. But we will go through it again. I don't like some of the options that are chosen here, so I will show you how it's fully automated. I mean, it's running right now. But then I will show you how to change some of the options during the installation, if you want. Like, for example, here, disk size 6 GB or RAM size 2048 MB. It's maybe okay if you just start with n8n, but if you want to store some additional files, or maybe let's say run some additional databases that you want to connect to this n8n service and you want to run it on the same LXC container, then maybe you want to change those values, and I will do it later on. Right now I will just wait until this setup finishes and I will show you how to change those values, if that's what you want to do. And if you wonder what are those little dots here, they are so-called tags. And that's also not what I want to have. For example, this blue is automation, this green is community script tag. This is not important, it's just if you're curious. Let's wait for this process to complete. And now this fully automated process is completed. And we can see the URL, it's different IP address, it doesn't show us localhost because it's a standalone Linux container, LXC container. So we can copy that, we paste it in our browser, and we should still be able to access n8n. But as you can see now, it takes you to that account creation page, because simply that LXC has its own storage. It's a different storage than we used before. That's why you would have to go through the process from the beginning. You can see the resources here, memory swap, course, and root disk is different. But I want to show you, let me just remove it. Let's just shut down this container first. And here in More, drop down menu, remove, because I don't need this container. I will remove everything. And let's go back to that shell. Do I have it still in the clipboard? Let's paste. Oh, no, it's the IP address. So let's copy that this long command again from the helper scripts. Go back. I will paste it again, run it, but this time I will choose Advanced Settings, number 3, option number 3. I press Enter, and now it tells me that to make a selection, use spacebar. Okay, that's fine. Press Enter. Unprivileged container, that's what I want, yes. Root password, yes, I need that to be able to access this container. Verify. Basically type it again. Container ID, I want maybe 215, let's say. Hostname n8n, that's fine. Disk size, not 6, but maybe 100. Or might be overkill, but yeah, it's okay. CPU cores, 2 cores is enough, yes, I would say. RAM, a little bit more, 4096. Okay, network bridge, default VMBR 0, that's fine. And the static IP, I want to use my own, 192.168.1.215. Press Enter. Oops, sorry. You have to type 192.168.1.215 /24. You have to provide subnet mask as well. It's fine. Gateway IP is the IP address of my router, 192.168.1.1. I mean, these are my changes. You could leave it as DHCP and it will work fine. It will generate the IP for you, like a router will assign IP to this container, but I want to have it like manually created. That's why I typed IP address and then default gateway as well. Apt cache leave blank, yes. Disable IPv6, yes. MTU default 1500 is fine. Search domain blank. And DNS server IP, I will use 1111. Because I use manual configuration, I don't rely on the DHCP. So that's why I type this. MAC address leave blank, VLAN blank, custom tags. These are these tags. You remember those two dots that were here? Blue and green? I don't need those tags. I will remove them. You can use tab to move between those fields, okay? Now press enter. SSH key for root. I could paste it here, but I already have password. It's good enough. Enable root SSH access, yes. Enable fuse support, yes, because I might want to use rclone for that as well, to synchronize some data. So I say yes. And enable verbose mode, I say yes. This is for the installation process. It will show me more information, what is going on in the background. And I press yes. Ready to create? Yes. And the config file, no, I'm not interested. And now the installation process starts again, but you can see those options here are now different. The container ID is 215, my IP address, these last digits, they match the container ID, because that's what I do. Actually not for containers only, but for all of those, like virtual machines and containers. If I see this virtual machine has container ID of 206, I know the IP address for that is 192.168.1.206. This is my way of doing things. I don't say it's better or worse, it's whatever you choose. But now I have disk size of 100 gig and I have 4 gig of RAM. And this is that verbose information I was talking about. So you get more info what is currently being pulled during this installation process. So, but we just have to wait again anyways, so yeah. Maybe it makes it less boring. And it's now also completed, but we can see the IP is the one that I specified. And if I just copy that, if I go to that URL, we are indeed again on the account creation website. But if I go to the specs of this n8n LXC container, we can see I have now 4 gig of memory, I've got 100 gig of storage, etc. Which means if I want to manually override some settings, I can simply run that option number 3 at the very beginning. What does the term workflow mean exactly? Or what is automation or an AI agent? These recently became very popular, but they are also very confusing terms. You might even hear something called AI workflow automation that combines all 3 of those concepts. The good thing is that they are actually very easy to explain, and you will understand all of that in the next few minutes. We will talk about each of them, and then we'll see how the automation platforms like Make, Zapier, or very popular recently n8n platform can help us build those AI workflow automations. Let's start with the term workflow and automation. The fact is that workflows and automations are not even the IT-specific things. They've been with us for ages. And workflow is simply a sequence of steps that you have to follow one after another to get a particular task done. And it might be surprising, but you already use some workflows in your daily life. Think about your morning routine, like, brushing your teeth, yes? What is the workflow for that task? What is the list of steps that you have to follow to have your teeth clean? Well, you need to first grab a toothbrush, then you need to squeeze some toothpaste on it, then you brush the teeth, spit, rinse, and then you put the toothbrush back. That's the workflow for this particular task. These are the steps that you have to follow in the exact order to have your teeth clean. So let's say maybe you drive to work, yes? What's the workflow for that task to get done? First, you need to grab the car keys, then you have to go and get into your car, then you drive to work, and you get out of the car. That's the workflow for drive to work task. It's just another list of steps that you have to follow to get this task completed. A workflow is simply a list or a sequence of steps that have to be followed to complete a specific task. That's it. What about automation then? If you think about it, there are many workflows that are very easy to automate. And again, it does not need to be about IT industry. Think about all those manufacturing and automotive workflows that have been automated over time just because they were so repetitive. For example, if a CNC machine needs to produce 10,000 identical parts, let's say, it is worth to spend some time maybe at the very beginning and create a program that will follow automatically, it will follow these steps required to make that one part. And that CNC machine then can be preloaded with the tools and will keep repeating that sequence 10,000 times until the entire job, until this entire batch of 10,000 elements is completed. So basically that machine will go on and on and on without or with very little supervision and intervention needed from a human being. So again, what is that automation then? The automation is that a single workflow, that's a single task that is done automatic way, the way that needs none or very little human supervision. And again, as you can see, automation is nothing new. Automation has been with us for ages. But to automate any task, you first need to understand what the workflow looks like for this particular task. What is the sequence of steps you have to follow to get it completed? And that's why you often hear that phrase workflow automation, because that's exactly what it is. A workflow automation is that workflow, that sequence of steps that is executed in an automated way. So now let's maybe talk about IT industry, because there are many workflows that are very easy to automate. And what can be automated? Loads of things, like you might run some automated backup scripts every day, or there are some scripts running every day on the servers. Even at home you might have some automated way of backing up your photo library, let's say. And if you work in IT, you might actually get paid to build some automations. Let's say, your boss says that every time that they get email, when the email arrives, they want to get some kind of notification on their WhatsApp application that they have installed on their mobile phone. As always, to get this job completed, you first need to understand and define what the workflow for that would look like, because only then you can start automating it. What that workflow would look like, those steps that you have to follow. Well, first, you have to know if there is a new email in the inbox or not. The first step is some kind of check that is able to connect to the boss's email inbox and check if there is an email or no. And if there is no email, then there is nothing to do. But if there is an email, maybe you want to grab the subject of that email, and that subject of the email will be then forwarded to a WhatsApp application on their mobile phone. And to make that simple automation, you have some platforms like n8n or Make or Zapier, and in fact in previous video we saw how we can install n8n platform so you can self-host it and use it free of charge. And there you can choose a trigger, because you always need some kind of trigger, and this trigger will do some checks every minute. So let's say every minute this automation will check given inbox to see if there is a new email or no. And this step would do nothing if there is no new email, but if there is a new email, we would need to extract the subject line of that email. And extracting that email subject field would be our second step of our workflow. Then once we have that email subject, we would need another third step to send this subject, so this kind of processed information already, and that processed information has to be sent to WhatsApp application. We can use so-called webhooks, for example, or other WhatsApp integrations to be able to send that message. And if you can run that workflow in automated way, you have workflow automation. By now, I hope it's clear what is a workflow and what is the automation. But what about AI agents? What is the AI agent and what exactly is that AI workflow automation? The AI workflow automation is a type of automation that includes a human-like reasoning step in the workflow. And this step is very often handled by a so-called AI agent. But before we talk about those AI agents, let me give you an example, a simple example, where we would need that AI agent to be used as part of our workflow automation process. So let's say we still work on that same request from our boss regarding the email forwarding to them, to their WhatsApp application. But this time, instead of just forwarding the subject line, boss asked us to send the summary of that email to WhatsApp application. So now the workflow will look slightly different, because, well, the first step can be left the same, because we still need to check if there is a new email or no. So that trigger that checks email inbox every minute can be left as it was. But then, once we have new email, we need to read that email and create a summary of what this email is about. And with standard automation, we can maybe only pull that subject line of the email, or we could forward entire email, but our workflow currently can't understand and summarize what that email says. Because to do that, we need a human-like reasoning element. We need that AI agent backed up by some LLM, large language model, that is able to read that email and generate a summary of it. And that is where that human-like reasoning comes into the workflow. And that's what it turns it into that AI-powered workflow automation. So basically, AI agent is that component in our workflow that can handle some more complex tasks. And when I say more complex, I mean where human-like reasoning is required. Those AI agents effectively replace that human part of the process, so if we create our workflow that way, we are also able to keep that workflow automated, because it does not require human intervention. It still can be done automated way. And that platform like n8n, we can connect that AI agent there to any large language model that we want, like GPT, Cloud, DeepSeek, blah blah, whatever you want. And you can then also give them some memory, so this AI agent can remember past steps or past tasks, and you can equip them also with some tools, like calculators, like APIs, and many other tools. So these AI agents can be extremely versatile, and they can be used for many tasks that are way beyond our current very simple example. But even in this example, it wouldn't make much sense to employ a human being to just read the email when it arrives and then forward the summary to our boss. Our boss might not even be happy with that, that somebody reads their emails. But it makes much more sense to employ that programmatic AI agent inside of our workflow. It becomes one step in our workflow, and that AI agent can be then used to create that summary every time a new email arrives. And those AI agents are becoming extremely popular, really. They are already being used in some stock trading. They are already making business decisions, or they read CT scans or X-rays, and they can do much, much more. That's why I think it's super useful to know how you can employ those AI agents to help you with any workflows, or maybe build workflows for companies to automate their tasks. If you have no idea what an AI agent is or how to build one, then you are in the right place. We are going to build our first AI agent from scratch, and you will see that it's very easy actually. You don't need any previous experience to start building and playing with that technology. You might be wondering first what an AI agent actually is, and I will explain that shortly as well. But to show you what it is and what it does, you have to first understand that an AI agent is a system that has to run somewhere. You need some kind of automation platform where you can host and run those AI agents. And for our first AI agent, we are going to use n8n automation platform. But please note that n8n platform has both free and paid options. And for paid option, you simply need to sign on to the n8n platform and you can run your AI agents just there, But, well, it will cost you money each month that you want to play with that n8n platform in the cloud. The great thing about n8n platform, though, is that you can just download it and you can run it locally on your laptop, PC, mini PC, and if you do it this way, then n8n is completely free for you to use. And n8n is a very powerful tool that lets you build all types of automations and AI agents. And what n8n is exactly and how to run it free of charge, we already covered that in the previous video. So you might want to watch that one to get your platform first set up. Because in this material we will focus only on that AI agent component available in n8n. I mean, it's not n8n specific thing. There are other platforms that will let you create AI agents, but we will concentrate today how to build AI agents in n8n. So this is my n8n platform. It's running on my mini PC at home, and here you can see what the main page of that n8n software looks like. And even before we start building anything here, if you, for example, went for paid option, hosted by n8n in the cloud, you will go to n8n, yes? And you can actually here see what this AI agent looks like. And each AI agent consists of 4 main components. You can see that chat model here, and that chat model can be a large language model like ChatGPT, Cloud, Gemini, etc. This is simply the model that you can attach to your AI agent that will act as its brain. Then you can attach memory, and there are multiple types of memories, and then you can see those tools. But there is also one hidden component. It's the system prompt, which provides instructions to the AI agent. But let's go back. What is that AI agent then? This AI agent is a human-like reasoning system that uses large language model, like that ChatGPT I mentioned, or Cloud, and that model will power the AI agent so it can make, for example, some decisions, or it can understand some stuff, and it can also remember because it has that memory, and then it can take some actions based on all that information it has. Because this memory, for our agent, it can remember previous conversations or tasks, so the AI agent can take the decision based on that history that is kept in this memory. And when we talk about tools, these tools expand the agent's abilities even further, because tools let the agent interact with external services, and you connect to those services using so-called APIs, and we will also talk about it, so don't worry about it. At this stage, you don't have to worry about any of that. In fact, we will configure such API access to a service called OpenWeatherMap, and to connect to that service, you need something called API key, and I will also show you how to get that API key. If you want to know what an API key is, it's like a very long password. It's simply a long string of characters like letters and numbers, etc. And this string can be used by the application. This AI agent then can access other services or other external applications. Bear in mind that for some services you might have to pay to get that API key, but there are other services that can give you that API key free of charge. And we will get the free one actually, because OpenWeather will provide API key free of charge, so don't worry about it. You can simply think of an API key as a user and password combined. It's one long string of numbers and letters, and that string is used to securely access other applications. But okay, that's enough about API keys. Let's talk about that 4th component, the system prompt. The system prompt is a set of clear instructions for our AI agent, and it can tell our agent, for example, what is its role here, what kind of output we expect, what it should and what it should not do for us. And sometimes you can add even more information, like some default values or some limitations or some further instructions. You will see it shortly. But I think it will be easier to explain all of that during the agent build process than just talking about it. So let's build that AI agent, yes? First thing, I will go back, I can close this, I can go back to my n8n platform and I just create workflow. And each workflow means like some steps that you have to follow to get the task completed simply. So each workflow has to start with so-called trigger. I mean, if you click that plus, you will have some triggers to choose from. And the trigger I'm going to use now is the on-chat message. It's a really nice trigger because you will get input and output directly here in n8n. You will see what I mean. If we go back to canvas here, we can see that trigger now. So let's move it maybe there. And then the next component can be already our AI agent. So I click that plus, I say AI, and I will choose that generic AI agent service. You can see it says connected chat trigger node. The left side is that trigger, and it can already recognize that it's connected to chat trigger node, and the prompt is user message. This is a JSON code. You will see what it is for later on. If I expand it, you can see right now it's just JSON chat input, but you will see what it is for when we run it. I will close it. I will go back to canvas. That's basically it. This is our AI agent. But we can also see it's not happy, it's red, because it doesn't have any chat model attached, it doesn't have memory attached or tools attached. Memory and tools are actually optional, but chat model, you need to have something attached, because currently it doesn't have a brain, the most important component. And that chat model, that large language model I was talking about, that's the first external service that we are going to connect to. If I click that plus, it will give me, like there are many pre-configured models I can choose from. You might recognize some of them like Grok, DeepSeek, Google Gemini. But if you just start your journey with n8n platform, I would suggest you go for that Open Router chat model. If you configure that Open Router, you will basically have access to all other models. Let me show you. Let's click that Open Router, and then what you have to do, you have to click that drop-down menu, or you will already see that create new credential. And that credential is that API key I was talking about. But how to get the API key? You have to go to OpenRouter website. It's https openrouter.ai. And once you configure your account, you would have to go to credits. Although I believe there are some free options as well. But to be able to access all available tools, you have to add some credit. As you can see, I added $8 here 5 days ago, and I still have $6.93 available. They will charge you per 1 million tokens, so it's not like it doesn't cost much really. I used it quite a lot, and in 5 days I used $1, yes? Once you've got that credit, I think $5 is the lowest you can go, I'm not sure. But you can basically then go to API keys, and you just create API key. I will call mine n8n, and you can also configure credit limit, but I will just leave blank. I will create new key, and that's my key. I'll just copy it, go back here, and I will paste it there. And this key is for Open Router Account. So I save it. You should get that green response, connection tested successfully. That means the API key works as expected. I can now close it, and from now on, I can access all available LLMs in that Open Router, which is a lot of them. We have OpenAI, like ChatGPT, we've got Perplexity, yes, we've got some QN or Rekkai I've never even heard of, but you can see it's loads and loads of them, yes? By default, it's a GPT-4.1 mini, which is fine, we can leave it as it is. And this is the brain of your AI agent. So you can go back to canvas, you can move things around here, you can adjust, have a better view. But we already have something like a chatbot, because this, when chat message received, this is nice trigger, because here below, that's where you can type your prompt. I will say just, hi, how are you? You can see AI agent works, connected to Open Router chat model. You can see the input. Input was from this trigger, and in the trigger, you can see that chat input, hi, how are you? That was my question. And the output is the AI agent saying, hello, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How can I assist you today? And that's how you can use any LLM model you want, because you can change it here. Sorry, not here. You have to go to Open Router, yes, and you can change LLM and test other, responses from other models. But I want to show you something else. Right now, if I tell it, "Hi, I'm Marek," you can see the input, "Hi, I'm Marek," and the output, "Hello Marek, how can I assist you today?" If I ask it, "What is my name?" "I'm not sure what your name is." Why does it say it? It doesn't remember anything. Why doesn't it remember? Because we have to add some memory, so it can remember the previous conversation. And oh, by the way, you can see here the tokens used. You can see the response time, which is 1.9 seconds, and you can see how many tokens were used for this query. And as I said, they usually charge you per 1 million tokens, like let's say $5 per million tokens. So the longer the queries, the more tokens you will be using, yes? This is pretty important field if you want to use it a lot. That's it, but I was talking about memory. Let's click that little plus then, and I will add maybe that simple memory. It's the simplest as it can be, because it's stored directly here on n8n platform. And it asks you for content window length, which means how many past iterations the model receives as context. Or in other words, how many questions it will remember, yes? 5 is more than enough for now. I can go back now. Now I say, "Hi, I am Marek." The response is the same. "Hi Marek, how can I assist you?" Now when I ask, "What is my name?" the output is now, "Your name is Marek. How can I help you further?" And you can also see that it stores 2 iterations already in that simple memory. And it referred to that previous conversation. It had to look up that history, and it found it, and it knows now that my name is Marek. And simple memory is just this, It is very simple to configure, and it remembers numbers of previous interactions. If for some reason it doesn't work, it doesn't refer to the memory, you might want to hover over this node. They are called nodes, yes? All of them are called nodes. But you can hover over. You've got three little dots here. You just click on them. You might have yours deactivated. So if I had it deactivated, it won't be able to access it. So I would have to activate, yes? But that's just in case it doesn't work as expected. You might want to check this. And the AI agent became yellow because we changed something, so we would have to... It doesn't really matter, Yellow means there were some outside changes. So we've got now large language model as a brain. We've got some memory. Now let's add a tool. And I thought about the tool to use here, and I was thinking, if I want to have a conversation with this agent, maybe I want to find out what's the current weather somewhere, yes? I can use that external tool which gives me the accurate weather forecast, and if we search for weather, we can see that Open Weather Map tool. Let's choose it. And here you will also have to create new credential. Ignore this is my previous account, it's shown here. For you it will probably show that create new credential, yes? So you would click on that, and you also have to paste your access token. How do you get access token? You go to openweathermap.org, you create your account here, and I believe the first API key is already included in the welcome email. But even if you didn't get one, you can simply generate another one here. Like I will call it n8n, generate, and maybe let's remove that one. And this is my API key. I will just copy it, go back to my n8n, and I paste it here. My account is called Open Weather Map account. I will add access token, I will save it. And now, tool description we can leave as it is. Operation, current weather, that's fine. Format you can change if you use different format like imperial or scientific. For me, metric is fine. And location selection, I don't change anything here, but in the city, you've got that little icon here. If you hover over, it says let the model define this parameter. That's what I need. When I click on that, you can see it changed to defined automatically by the model. And the model, it means that LLM model, large language model. What that basically means, if I ask my AI agent what's the weather like in London, the AI agent will pass the city name, which is London, will pass it to this tool, and the weather specifically for London will be retrieved from here and returned back to my AI agent. So now I can go back to Canvas, and now we've got this tool configured. But there is one more thing I mentioned, and it's that system instruction, that prompt for AI agent, because it doesn't really understand well what it's supposed to do here, yes? I mean, if I ask it a basic question, yes, it will respond. Like, let's say, what is the capital of Portugal? As you can see, it connected to LLM, it checked the memory, but it probably didn't use it because it didn't need to. It didn't see why it would connect to Open Weather Map because there was no question about weather, yes? So it just answers the question. The capital of Portugal is Lisbon. But I want to tell my agent that if it's a generic question, this is fine. But if it's a question about the weather, I want it to contact this tool, Open Weather Map. I want to pull the most recent information about the weather for a particular location, and I just simply want to see the output here. How do I do that? I will just double click on that agent, and now we will change the source for prompt. If you click that drop down menu, we will change it from here to define below. But even before we do that, just make note of what it takes as an input now. It's that JSON chat input. So let me change it to that define below. Then let me make it bigger. And I already have something. I will just copy paste it, and then this little icon, I will make it full screen. And this is what I pasted. The instruction for AI agent is: you are a helpful assistant that can chat with users and also check the weather when needed. If the user asks something casual like "Hi, how are you?" respond naturally. But if the user asks about the weather in a particular location, then call the Open Weather Map tool with that city name. And only call that tool if the weather information is clearly requested, yes? We don't want to call it if it's not needed. But what it's missing here is another line. I have to instruct it to take whatever is also in that chat message. Whatever the user inputs, because currently it will not know what comes in from the previous step, from that trigger. So I will have to instruct it, take the input from user, and now I will use that curly brackets. It says anything inside those curly brackets is JavaScript. That's called JSON, JavaScript Object Notation. If I do that, I can now take that chat input. Previously it was what is the capital of Portugal, yes? Whatever I type in is in this object here, chat input. I drag it here. So basically what I'm saying is take the input from user, whatever was typed in the chat message, take that in, and then my AI agent will evaluate that input and it will take a decision based on that. And if I ask for something casual, it will just respond to me. But if in that input I asked about weather, it will use, hopefully, Open Weather Map. Let's see if it works. I can close it now, I can see it here, and if I go back to Canvas, let's see. What's the weather like in London? Press enter. We can see it contacts LLM. Checked the memory, but there was nothing to find. And it responds: the weather in London is currently mild with scattered clouds, which means it understands the prompt. If I ask it basic question, it will not use this Open Weather Map tool because, there is no need for that. But if I ask about weather, that's when it finds this tool handy and it will use it, as per instructions. I just wanted to add, if for some reason that Open Weather Map doesn't work for you, it not necessarily means that you did something wrong. Because when you create a new API or new account, it can take up to 2 hours before your API key is ready to use. So if you have some authorization problems or response like server is not available, then you might simply want to wait until your API key is active. And it's not only for Open Weather Map, it's for other services as well. So just bear it in mind. And this is one of the simplest AI agents that you can build, but think what you can do next. Maybe you don't need weather information. Maybe you want an AI agent that keeps checking a stock market for you, yes? Maybe you could change this message trigger to something else. For example, we can use schedule trigger instead of that message chat. It can run every minute, let's say, and then you can connect your AI agent using API key to a service that provides current stock exchange information. And you can then add another tool or even continue working with your workflow. Maybe you want to send a WhatsApp message or an email to yourself when a given share price drops below a certain level. Or maybe you want an AI agent that summarizes emails for you. You can set a trigger for every email that you get, and then you tell AI agent to send the summary of that email to your WhatsApp, so you only open the mailbox when you receive something important. What I mean is that the possibilities are endless here. You can start building more advanced automations even today. And as you can see, there are no particular skills needed. You just need to set up the platform and you can start building your AI solutions. This is a Telegram bot that is running on my phone that can access any large language model I want. It connects to my n8n platform, and let me show you how it works. If I type, for example, use DeepSeek, I will get an answer from DeepSeek. If I say use Grok, I will get answer from Grok. And I can get answer from GPT-5, Gemini, whatever I want. This bot has basically access to any available language model that you could think of. And I will show you how to build that all, and don't worry, you don't need any previous experience. With n8n, it's easier than you think. Let's get started then. But first, we need that Telegram app installed, yes? Telegram is a chat program, something like a WhatsApp or Messenger, that you can install on your phone, and it is bound to your telephone number. You just go to Google Play or App Store and you install Telegram on your phone, just like any other app. And once you have it installed on your phone, you can also authenticate this app on other devices like your laptop or PC, which means that you can run it on any device that you want. And once we have that Telegram up and running, we need to create a chatbot in that Telegram application, so we can use it to connect to our AI agents. You have to go to BotFather. It's at BotFather, you have to type. And when this window opens, you have several options here. And you need that new bot. You can see create a new bot. That's exactly what we need. I click on that and it says, alright, new bot. How do you want to call it? And I will call it, you can call it anything you want. I will call it Automation Avenue Bot. That's it. And now you have to choose the username for your bot. And it must end with bot. It's either bot or underscore bot, as per the examples. I will try to copy paste it, but note that it has to be not in use currently by anybody else. So let's check if that one is available. Oh yes, it is. And that's it. That's my bot created already. And what's the most important here is your API token. You've got here the API token that we will be able to use in n8n to bind n8n with this Telegram application. Note that this API key is very important. You don't want to share it with anybody. I mean, I am showing this to you, but in fact I will remove this bot as soon as I complete this video. But remember, this is something like a password for you and you need to keep it safe. But honestly, that's all we need here. We are already done with Telegram. Next step is to run our n8n automation platform somewhere. And one of the options to run n8n is to use their own n8n Cloud solution. But that costs quite a lot of money every month, and to be honest, it has quite a few limitations. That's why you might consider using Hostinger instead. Hostinger has recently become a very popular option for self-hosting n8n because they offer a VPS that comes pre-configured with everything you need to start creating your automations. Just go to hostinger.com/automationavenue and it will take you directly to the landing page for that self-hosted n8n virtual private server. You simply scroll down a little bit and you will see all available VPS plans. This is where you choose the size of your server. And again, the KVM2 is one of the most popular ones, because this is really more than enough for n8n to run, but it also has a very good price. It has 2 CPUs, it has 8 GB of RAM, 100 GB SSD drive. That's really plenty to just host an n8n platform. Then you choose how long you will need this server for. You can pick 1, 12 or 24 months. The longer the period, the lower the price. For 2 years, it's a $6.99 a month. And they gave me a code that you can use, and the code is Automation Avenue. Once you apply that code, you will get 10% extra off that price. Whatever the price is, you will get 10% extra off. Then you just continue, and you have to register. If you don't have an account already, I mean. I will create a new account, and then it will get you to this page, where you choose a location for your server. By default, the closest location will be chosen, but if you want to build a server on the other side of the world, that's up to you, you can change it here. But I will stick to United Kingdom, it's fine, so I click Next. And here, you can choose either plain OS, you can choose CentOS, Debian, etc. But what we are interested in is the application. And you can choose here, for example, vanilla n8n. That's what I'm interested in. But you can maybe want to go for the one that has already applied 100 workflows, or maybe so-called n8n in queue mode. But as I said, I'm fine with just n8n. That's what I need. I select it. I create a password, so I can log on to my server if I want. It's for SSH connection, and then you can choose if you want to have malware scanner included. I will leave it as it is, which means I can click Finish Setup now. And it says it will take about 5 minutes, but to be honest, it didn't take even 5 minutes. It took much less than that. But you just wait for that process to complete, or you can read the documentation at the bottom in the meantime if you want. But that's basically it. Now you can click that Manage VPS, which is Virtual Private Server, and this is it. This is your server up and running. And if you click that Manage App button, it will take you straight to your n8n application. It couldn't get any easier. But what I wanted to show you is a very important thing, because what Hostinger gives you as well is so-called fully qualified domain name. And that's very important, especially when you want to connect external resources like Telegram or Google or any other resource that want to contact your instance, your n8n instance from outside. That is usually problematic if you host it locally on your laptop or PC. You would have to use Cloudflare tunnel or ngrok tunnel, but here you don't have to do that, because Hostinger not only gave you public IP address, but they also gave you that fully qualified domain name, which can be used to interact with other services. And in fact, you can use that domain to connect to your service. Let's say you don't want to click that Manage App. Maybe you are on another PC and you still want to connect to your n8n application. So you just copy that address, you open a browser, and you type https://n8n dot, and you paste that address you just copied. Press enter, and that also takes you to your n8n application. And because it's hosted in the cloud, in Hostinger Cloud, you can access it from anywhere you want. Because I open it for the first time, it will ask me to set up owner account. So you type like email address, your name, the last name, and you create a password. Then you just click Next, just fill in a form, whatever, and that takes you straight to your application. This is your n8n platform up and running. Here you can create workflows, that's basically it. Personally, I don't like that light theme, so you can go to Settings, to Personal, and you can change that theme to Dark theme. I mean, that is at least my preference. And we are ready to build our solution now. These are all 3 tabs opened in another browser. This is Opera browser, but we are at the same stage. That's my Telegram, that's my Hostinger, that's my n8n, and let's connect the Telegram to my n8n. I need to click that plus. The first step is always so-called trigger, and I need that Telegram to be my trigger. I click the Telegram and I say on message. If you check that webhook URL, you can see that subdomain is used for this connection. That's what I meant. HTTPS, n8n, SRV. I mean, you don't have to do anything here, it's just to point out. This is very useful feature that you get with Hostinger server. And the credentials to connect with, we don't have any yet. I need to create a new credential to connect n8n to my Telegram. But the botfather already created that HTTP API I can use. I just copy that, I copy selected text, and paste this access token here. And I save it. And it should give me, that's what we need, credential successfully created and connection tested successfully. And it's optional, but let me change this credential. I will call it, I don't know, Telegram n8n maybe. I know that's the API that connects Telegram to n8n. And I save it. That's all I need here. I can close it now. And if I want to test this step, I can run that execute step. I can see the Telegram is listening for test event, Telegram trigger I mean. Which means I can go back to my Telegram. I can now use my bot. It says you will find it at blah blah blah. You can click that little link. No messages here yet, of course, because it's a new bot. I can start it. And now, even I don't have to type anything yet. this already should trigger something, that /start. Starting the bot, if I go back, that's what it is. I can see it's a bot command, and the text inserted was /start. But I can test it further. I will click that execute step again. The Telegram trigger within n8n now listens to any messages coming to the Telegram itself, which means if I go to that Telegram and say, I don't know, hi, how are you? And if we go back, now we can see the text here changed to hi, how are you? The other important thing is that chat ID. We will use it later on. And if you are curious, what the heck, Marek, is that date? This is something called epoch time. If you copy that, you can run something like epoch time translation, I don't know, epoch converter. Oh, you paste it here, timestamp to human date. It is indeed today's date and the hour and up to the second. But it's called epoch time. Doesn't really matter, because we will not use this one. It's just if you're curious why it's in that weird format. But that means our Telegram trigger works as expected, which means also we can go back to Canvas and we can continue our build. Let me maybe move it to the left. And now let's configure the first AI agent. I click on that plus and I say AI agent. You can see it here. We will first build a simple solution with just one large language model. And once we've got that up and running, we will add more and more large language models. We have to simply understand what is going on under the hood. And the source for prompt, that's the first thing we want to change it here, because it's not connected chat trigger node, it's chosen by default. We want define below. We want to define it ourselves. It's simply the information for AI agent, what it is supposed to do here in this workflow. And I will write a very simple prompt. Maybe something like take the output from. And from where? Well, on the left side, we have the previous node. It's a Telegram trigger, and we can see its output. And honestly, the only output I'm interested in is that text. Hi, how are you? Because we are going to send some text in our Telegram message, and I'm not interested in anything else. I just want to pass that message to my AI agent. Whatever is on the left is the previous node, here is the current node, the AI agent, and on the right you've got output, which is the processed data. Nothing here because there is nothing processed. But once AI agent processes the data, it will go here on the right as an output. So I want to grab that text from the Telegram. I will just grab it here. Take the output from this field, whatever is in this field. If we switch to JSON, it's a JSON under message, under text. Whatever is here, let's go back to schema maybe. Whatever is in that box, in that field, and respond back. Couldn't get any simpler, really. The full instruction is to just grab this text and respond back to that text. That's all we need to set here. I will now go back to Canvas. But we can see the AI agent is not happy, because it doesn't have any chat model attached. Let's attach the chat model then. I click on that plus. And here you can use different, like Anthropic, Azure, DeepSeek, many LLM models. But the easiest way to access all models, not specific ones like Grok or Gemini, you can go to OpenRouter chat model, and OpenRouter provides you API access to nearly every single LLM model that is available in the world, really. But that means you need an account with OpenRouter. You just have to go to openrouter.ai, create your account, and you immediately have access to some freely accessible LLM models. But not all models are available for free, of course. If you want to use the paid ones as well, then you have to go to your account, to credits, and you have to add some money to your account. As you can see, I've got $6.50, and in 2 months I used only $1.50. It's really a great way to access many LLM models from one single source. But what I need to do here, I have to go to API keys, and I have to create new API key. I just call it, let's say, Telegram to n8n maybe. You can set the limit for that API key. Let's say if you reach $2, that API key will stop working, but I will not do that. But it's up to you. I will just create it. And once you've got that API created, you have to copy it immediately, because it will not show up again. You would have to create yet another API key. But now I've got that API key, so I can go back. And in this OpenRouter chat model, I click that credential to connect with. I create new credential, and I can paste my API key. I will change the name again, maybe Telegram also to n8n, so I know what it is about, and I save it. I can see connection tested successfully, that's all we need. I can close it now. And now you can choose any model you want. If you have some credits, if you don't have credits, you can still choose like Ollama, or there are models available free of charge, but with some credits available, you can access all of them. And have a look at that. The list is like a never-ending, really. DeepSeek, Google Gemini, Informatic, we've got Meta, Ollama, Microsoft, Mistral AI. Mistral is really good, by the way. And we've got Morph, Neuros, OpenAI, GPT models. You've got multiple models. By default, 4.1 mini is chosen, but if you want, you can also use GPT-5 or GPT-5 chat, or maybe GPT-5 mini. Well, let's have a look further. Q1, blah blah, you know, hundreds, like I don't know how many of them are here. It's loads and loads of them. I will use GPT-5 mini, but that's basically it. That's all we need here. I can go back now to Canvas. Now the AI agent is happy because it has now Open Router chat model. Well, one more thing. I will double click. Maybe I will change the name to GPT-5 maybe, so I know what I chose. Now we go back. I know it's Open Router, but we chose GPT-5. One more thing we can add here is a memory. If I click on that little plus here, next to memory, I can choose a simple memory. This is simply for my AI agent to remember the previous conversation. Maybe I want to refer to the previous conversation and ask some further questions. This way, using simple memory, I will be able to do so. Default is 5 previous conversations, but this JSON session ID, it doesn't exist here. I want to change it to, can define below. Basically, that's all I need to remember, you know, just that text window. You will simply remember those fields, what I was talking about previously, or what questions I asked previously. That's all it needs. And it's green now, which means it's valid. We can go back now. That's basically it. That's all we need for our AI agent to work with a single large language model. Let's test it again then. I say execute workflow. My Telegram trigger now listens to new messages. I will go back to the Telegram then, and I will ask maybe this time, hi, who are you? I press enter. I will go back quickly here, and we can already see AI agent works with GPT-5, and they are working on the response. They used simple memory, which means any previous conversation was already looked up, and now I can open this log. At the bottom you've got those logs, yes? I can use that up arrow, and this is the output. And GPT-5 asks, do you mean the assistant previously replied to hi, who are you? Or do you have some specific test? I mean, it kind of works and doesn't work, because we've got output, but we've got this output only here, in this field. If I go back to my Telegram, I can't see this output here, yes? That's because we have one very important component missing. This AI agent now has to send this output back to our Telegram. Currently, I can only see it here locally within the AI agent node. Let's add that Telegram output then. I click on that little plus here and I search for Telegram again. But now, because I want to create that return path, let's say, I will search for send a text message. Here it is. And here, credentials can stay the same. That's a good thing, you know. It might take a little bit longer to configure it first, but then you don't have to configure the credentials again. You can reuse previous credentials. You can create a new one if you want, but you can simply reuse the previous ones. Resource message is correct. Operation is send message, which is correct. But in fact, maybe you want to change it to send photo, or maybe you want to send video, maybe you want to work with different AI models that can generate some photos or videos, etc. That's where you would personalize here, yes, the response. But for me, it's a simple send message. But what I need here is chat ID. That's what I mentioned. While we can see the output is from the previous node, and previous node was AI agent itself, we still can see the Telegram trigger as well. We can see the information from the first node. And the Telegram trigger tells us what the chat ID was actually used. And chat ID is here. And we can respond to the same chat ID. And I can simply grab and put it here. Whatever chat ID is, I will use it here in this field. And the text, note that I am no longer interested in this original text. I am interested now in the output from my AI agent. So I drag this instead. This is the response of my AI agent to my original question. And that's what I need to put back to the Telegram channel. And I can simply execute step here. I will reuse those details. If I execute the step, bam, node executed successfully. If I go back to my bot, have a look. Now I can see the response here in my Telegram application as well. The one thing that I don't like is that this bottom line, this message was sent automatically with an n8n. This is not what I want to see. I can change it easily. I can go back to the workflow. And here there is this little button add field, yeah? And the very first choice, append n8n attribution. You click on that, you disable it, and now if I execute the step, it says executed successfully. If I go back, I indeed have the same information again, but with no, this message was sent automatically. It's now just the message I want to see. Let's test it one more time maybe, but let's test full workflow. I will go back. I say execute workflow. My Telegram is listening for new messages, Telegram trigger. So I go to Telegram application and I say maybe, hi, what LLM model are you? Press enter, go back here, it works with GPT-5. It used the simple memory, it was very quick, didn't even see when it happened, and it sent the message back to the Telegram. If I go back to my Telegram application, hi, I'm ChatGPT, a large language model, blah blah blah. So it doesn't say really it's a GPT-5, it just says it's ChatGPT, but never mind. We can see that works as expected. How do I add more LLM models then? Currently I only have GPT-5. How can I add more models? Maybe I want to have DeepSeek, maybe I want to have Grok, etc. It's actually very easy. Let's rearrange it a little bit. Let me move it up. Or you can use this rectangle. No, I don't like it. I want to move it somewhere here. To add other LLM models, it's actually very easy. You've got those tools here. You click that little plus, and now you search for AI. It will show you AI agent tool. That's exactly what we want to use. I click on that, and now my main AI agent, which operates with GPT-5, will now be able to access other AI agents, and I can use different large language models for those other AI agents. Let's say this one I will want to use as a Grok. That will be my Grok. Change the name, and now here in the prompt, I don't want to type anything. I will just use this like star-like thing, icon. Let the model define this parameter. That's perfectly fine. I just click on that. Because that parent node is AI agent, and this, like a child node, is also AI agent, they will be able to communicate fine. I don't need to tell them what to do. I just change the name to Grok. Prompt will be defined by the model. I can go back to Canvas now. The only thing I have to do here is to connect the Grok chat model for this tool. Let me move it here. I will click on chat model. And you might be tempted to use that Grok chat model, but remember, we can use OpenRouter, and OpenRouter, we already have credentials with OpenRouter, and within this solution, I can search for Grok. Maybe I want to use Grok 3 Mini. I change the name to Grok here as well, and that's as easy as it is. I already have credentials, I just choose different model, I go back to Canvas, and that's it. This tool is called Grok. Let's add another tool. Again, I use AI agent tool. I just click that stars, so the AI agents will talk to each other. I change this name to, I don't know, what shall we choose? Maybe DeepSeek. That's all I need here. I go back. Okay, I messed up the name. DeepSeek. It's not that important, but you know. Here, the important bit is chat model. Again, don't search for DeepSeek, it's already here, but we need OpenRouter. That's the whole beauty, you know. You just need one account with OpenRouter, and that gives you access to every other large language model. And here within OpenRouter, I search for DeepSeek. Which one shall we choose? Maybe R1, the original one. And I will change it to DeepSeek as well, the name of the model. Let's go back. That's cool. But how our main AI agent knows when to use them? When to use Grok or when to use DeepSeek? Well, it doesn't, in fact. We have to give it instruction when to use this model, when to use that model, or maybe when to use just the default one and do not refer to any other tools, because they are tools, yes? We can do that by double-clicking on our main AI agent, and we just change the prompt. I can click this little icon here to make it bigger. And now I want to change my so-called prompt, which is instruction for AI agent. And I will just maybe copy-paste. I say, take the output from JSON message text, which is still here, because I still want to take the same message from Telegram. If it includes something like use grok or grok at the beginning of the message, maybe I will add, then use grok tool to generate response. If it includes something like use DeepSeek or DeepSeek at the beginning of the message, then use DeepSeek tool to generate response. Once you have that response back, forward it back to Telegram. If there is no specific instruction which tool to use, then just use default chat model and answer straight back to Telegram. Pretty straightforward, isn't it? And that should work in theory. Let's see. Let's go back to Canvas. And now I will execute the entire workflow again. I go back to my Telegram and I say use grok. Who are you? Press enter. Let's go back quickly. AI agent still will use first GPT, and now we can already see it uses grok. It understands this instruction. It knows, it expects, response from the grok. Then it will prepare the message and send it back to Telegram, hopefully. And bam, this is it. Workflow executed successfully. Let's see what it responded with. I'm grok. I'm AI assistant blah 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 from X. I'm AI assistant built by X. That's enough to prove that a grok was used. We actually saw it running in the background. What about the DeepSeek? Let's try that. Use DeepSeek. And I will just ask the same. Who are you? Press enter. Let's go back quickly. Oh, I can execute workflow quickly. It should work. Yeah, if you do it pretty quickly, it will still work. But look at this now. It uses DeepSeek, goes back, and it should send the message to the Telegram. Bam! Workflow executed successfully. Greetings, I'm DeepSeek R1, Artificial Intelligence. Alright, but what if I don't say anything? At the beginning, I mean. I don't want to use grok or DeepSeek. I just say or ask, who are you? Press enter, let's go back. Oh, again, execute workflow, forgot to click first, but never mind. Let's see what happens. As you can see, it didn't go to grok, it didn't go to DeepSeek, it responded straight to Telegram without using any of those tools. Let's see what it responded with. Might not be super clear, but we can see it is response from GPT-5, but it says I don't have the who are you output. Please paste it here. It simply tells us what it expects as an input. Let's just delete the chat and start again maybe. If I just start, let's see what happens. It refers to the instructions. Maybe I will ask, explain very shortly, what is n8n for? Press enter, execute workflow. We can see it doesn't refer to grok or DeepSeek. Let's see what's there as a response. Alright, n8n is an open source node-based workflow automation. That works. Let's compare it to response from DeepSeek. I say use DeepSeek, explain very shortly what is n8n for. Press enter, go here, execute workflow. It hopefully now use DeepSeek as a tool, and it does. Now it will generate the response. And let's have a look what DeepSeek version looks like. It's pretty similar, it's even shorter than coming from GPT. And let's compare the grok. Explain very shortly what is n8n for. Press enter, go here, execute workflow quickly. And now it should go to grok. And it does. Let's see. All three are very similar, but different at the same time. But basically, once you have it configured and everything works as expected, now you can make this workflow active. You can just click active here in the top right corner, you say got it, and now you don't have to keep clicking that execute workflow. Every time you paste something in your Telegram, this workflow will work automatically and will keep responding to all the messages that you post in that channel. That's all I wanted to show you today, so thank you for watching. Marek. In this video, we will build a fully working n8n AI automation from scratch that can read PDF documents, and I mean even ones of very poor quality or with barely visible text. We will use a tool called Mistral OCR, and then we will pass that document to an AI agent. And that AI agent can do anything we want with that document. For example, it can summarize it for us, it can translate it to another language, or it can answer questions about its content. And as I said, we will go through entire process step by step, and by the end, you will have fully functional solution that you can use at home, or at work, or who knows, maybe even customize it a little bit further and sell as a service to other companies. It's my personal automation, and I've been using it quite a lot recently, as I had to review some legal documents after purchasing a property. And these documents usually look like that, and they are written in some legal language that I don't really understand. So instead of trying to read them as they are, I just use my AI automation instead and upload that document to Mistral OCR, and then AI agent will process that data for me. But maybe I will simply show how it works, okay? This is a PDF document that we are going to work with, and you can see it's very poor quality scan of my lease document from 1980s or 1990s, and it's not fun to read at all. Plus you can see some letters are barely visible here, and also the text takes just a quarter of every page. But then most of the PDFs look like that, to be honest. And I think this will be a good example. And we can see it's 44 pages document, extremely boring, which means instead of reading it all, what I usually do, you probably know by now that I'm lazy, I use my automation instead. I just do execute workflow, I browse for that document, this is this lease document, I select it, and submit. And now we can see the workflow is running. The document is being uploaded to Mistral. We then get signed URL. Now the OCR happens, optical character recognition. This is another AI from Mistral that deals with this document. It tries to read what is in that document. And then we've got a markdown node, and now AI agent creates a summary for me of that document. And I use OpenAI, I think GPT 4.1, if I remember right. But we are going to build that from scratch again anyways. And if we check the output, like if I click the agent, alright, something I didn't think of, actually at the beginning, there are some personal details, but you can see, certainly, here is a detailed summary of the document you provided, which is a lease agreement and associated deeds related to the property I mentioned. Let me scroll down maybe. It tells me that this document includes images, such as architectural role plans and company seals, blah blah blah. But now I've got a one page, and my instruction is very basic. If we check my instruction, it's only like take all information from this side and create summary of that document. And this is the output, this is summary of this document. That's all the AI does. And how to set it up, how to customize the instructions for the AI agent, and everything else you will see during the build process. So maybe let's get started. Let me close this one. I didn't really mean to change anything, so I can leave without saving, but to get you started, you need one big prerequisite though, and this is the n8n platform. And n8n is a free-to-use automation platform, but it's free to use if you self-host it, which means you run it locally on your PC, laptop, or maybe mini PC like I do, or maybe some server in the cloud. And what n8n is and how to run it locally, we had a dedicated video about it. So if you want to do that first, if you want to follow each step, you have to watch that previous video, which includes step-by-step guide on how to run this n8n locally, which means you can run it free of charge. And there was also another video where we built our first AI agent, and that one is not really a prerequisite, but it might make a lot of sense to watch that one too. But as I said, it's optional, so it's your choice if you want to watch that one or not. Once you have n8n up and running, we can start creating our workflow. By default you will see nothing here, no projects, but you will have that create workflow button. That's what you want to click, and that's where you start building your workflows in n8n. And the first step is always so-called trigger. Something has to trigger that entire workflow. Let me click that plus then, and I will search, I think it's a form something. Yes, n8n form. And I need that trigger on a new n8n form event. We are building that first button where I could upload my file, my list document in that case. We will then be able to send that document up to Mistral OCR. And there is not much here for us to do. Form title, maybe I will call it document. You can add description, but it's optional. But what we want to do here is add form element. And field name, you will see what it is, don't worry about it. Form element, we will call it document again. but the element type, we want to choose file, because there are many elements that you can submit using this node, but we want to submit file. And we want to submit single file, so let me disable that multiple files. We are interested in single file. And now you can also limit it further to maybe just PDFs. But the fact is, Mistral OCR can read more than PDFs. It can read Word documents, PowerPoint presentations, so I will just leave it as it is. I will switch that to a required field, because we have to attach a document. We have to work with something. But that's it. That's all for this node. If we now go back to Canvas, you can see we've got our first node, because they are all called nodes here. And it's also a trigger, so-called trigger. Let me maybe rearrange that. And I can already test it. If I say execute workflow, now you can see those fields. First field we called document. Second field we also called document. Oh, sorry. This is that second field. And this is this window which let us select the file and submit it. If I browse for my file, that's the list document, I can now select it. And I can also submit it. And we've got workflow executed successfully. That's what we want to see. That's basically it. Our first node is up and running, which means now we can create a second node, which will upload our document up to Mistral AI. But before we do that, we have to have an account on Mistral OCR or Mistral AI. Because if you go there, the website is mistral.ai. That's what we need. And Mistral OCR is currently the best software available on the market to read information from PDFs, images, and other documents. And the coolest thing about Mistral OCR is that it's currently free of charge for you to use. You have to open so-called experiment plan or experimental plan, something like that, and it will not require any card details or any other payment methods. Simply when you sign up, it will ask you what type of account it is. You just say experiment and that's it. And what it means, you will be able to click that try the API, and this is where you will get free API keys. You will be able to create API keys. Like here I can create new key. I already have some, but yeah, I can create another one. And if you go to that docs in the top right corner, and then on the left, we choose Document AI, I think. Yes, that's it. And we choose that basic OCR. It's not really basic, it's very sophisticated. But you can see the options. OCR with PDF, OCR with uploaded PDF, and OCR with image. OCR stands for Optical Character Recognition. What we need from this website, we have to scroll down, and these are our options. And I'm already on curl, but I believe by default they are on Python. You will see something like that. If you have your solution written in Python, this is the code you can use, but for us, we will need that curl. You will see shortly why. So simply click that curl option, and all other options should switch to that curl as well. And you might guess it, we will need that upload a file. And we need that curl code. Why do we need it? You will see. There is like this gray little icon that will let you copy everything. So let's use it. I will just click on that to copy everything. I go back to my workflow now, and now I will click on this little plus to add another node. And I will search for HTTP. And this is exactly what I need. We will need actually 3 of them. And this is the first one. These requests can simply communicate between our PC or mini PC or server, whatever you run your n8n on. And it's the way of communication with Mistral AI remote site. I clicked on that, and now I can click that import curl. And now we simply paste this code here. I will paste it, click import. And what it does, it simply populates all those fields for me. And this is all cool, but the first thing I need here is the API key. And how to get the API key? Once you have your account, you have to go to that Mistral, either here API or maybe from the main site. You click that try the API, you will basically land on this page, and you click that API keys, and you click create new key. And you give it a name, Marek key, yeah, that's fine. And I can set expiration date. And that's a really good choice here. For this video, I will choose tomorrow's date, which means tomorrow this key will already be expired. That way I don't have to blur it or something, because API key is basically your password, so how to keep it safe. But because mine will expire tomorrow, I will not create this video till tomorrow. It will be already expired when you watch the video. And I click create new key. And this API key is only shown once, so you copy the key and you either save it immediately somewhere, Or I will simply go back to our workflow and I will paste it here. And I want to paste it exactly here, after that bearer information. Which means this is a header, this is a HTTP header that will go to Mistral and it will show Mistral that it's you. You can think of that as your username and password for that Mistral service. This is what API key basically is. Maybe I will change one more thing because we need 3 of those nodes and they will all be called HTTP request. Let me change that name to maybe upload to Mistral. That's cool. And we've got the authorization. And the below also was automatically populated. The purpose is OCR, but there is one more thing, because here you've got parameter type. And the type is n8n binary file, that's correct. The name can be left as file, it doesn't really matter. But what matters here is that input data field name. And what it is? The binary file. If you switch, because you've got different views, here you've got schema, you've got table, JSON, and binary. So make sure you are here on the binary, and we need the name of our file, which is here called a document. Simply whatever here is on the top in red, you want to copy paste it here, in that field. And once we have it, I believe that's all we need. If I execute the step, oh okay, it asks me to run the whole workflow. That's fine. I will go back. Let's run this workflow. I will browse. I will choose my document, select, submit, and let's see what happens. 2 things can actually happen. It can work or cannot, because I will tell you, alright, workflow executed successfully. That's success, but you might get an error at this stage, because these API keys, when you just create them, sometimes they don't work immediately. Actually, it can take up to 2 hours before an API key works correctly. I was lucky one, because mine worked within 1 minute, but it might not be the case for you. If it doesn't work, don't panic, don't worry, and don't try to change anything. Simply leave it as it is and try again in a while. Maybe your API key is simply not ready yet. But for us, it works already as expected, so we can go further. What I can also do, I can double click on that and I can pin that information. And what that pin does, it says exactly, node will always output current data instead of executing. I will click that, I will go back, and now it's like this purple color, that means it's pinned. And for testing purposes, it's a good option, because it means when you execute the workflow, this data is not constantly sent to Mistral back and forth. It will simply remember the current data and will just use this. It's especially useful if you have like API that is limited to maybe 10 requests a minute, let's say. You don't want to push the same data over and over again. It's better to pin it and it's stored here locally for now. Alright, but let's build another node. And another node will get us signed URL. Let me click that plus. It will be again HTTP request. That's fine. And we want to also import it as curl command. So I will go back here to this page with our curl commands, and this is the one I need, get signed URL. But what even it is about? I will maybe first copy it and then I will explain it, alright? So I copied this, get signed URL, I go back to my node, import curl, it's not the one, I have a new one, it's this command, and I say import, and I change the node name to get URL. And now let me explain what it is at all. We can see here on the left, it's input from the previous node, from that node that uploaded the file to Mistral. It uploaded it to Mistral, and Mistral gave us that ID. This is the identifier for our file, but already there, in that remote location, in their cloud. And what we can do now, we can create a signed URL. Signed URL is like a secure, temporary link that can access your file in that Mistral cloud. Because now our file is there in Mistral and it now just waits to be processed. But it's not processed yet. This signed URL is a secure link that we can use to locate our file in that Mistral cloud. And I need this ID, I want to move it here. In this URL, I want to replace, you can see like $ID. I want to remove that, and what I really need, I want to move this container, I want to move this JSON object. You can even swap to JSON. You can see ID, yes? This is the JSON view. If I switch to schema, that's the schema view. And I can now hover over that and drag this ID here to that URL. And make sure this field up change to expression. You can click first expression and only then drag this container. This is JSON object. And whatever is in that object, we are not interested in about this value right now, because this is static value for this particular file. We are interested in this container, in this object. It doesn't matter what current value is. We want to have anything that is currently in this object, in this JSON object. That's why I drag this portion here and I say whatever is in that JSON ID, currently it's this, it's whatever is in that object, I want to have it in this URL. And if I click here, the result, the result shows this actual value that is currently there. This is simply taken out from this container. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And below you can also change the expiry. By default it's 24 hours, but honestly we will need just maybe 1 hour or even not. But on the other hand, it's safe to leave 24 hours because they are pretty safe. This signed URL is really secure link. It can be valid for 24 hours, that's not a problem. And now let's scroll further. Not entirely sure if I need this header. Let's just remove it. But we need the API key again. So maybe let me remove this value for now. I will go back and copy it from the previous node, because I already don't have it in cache. I copied something else in the meantime. So I will go back and now to the get URL, again authorization, and this is bearer and this is my API key because it stays the same. And that, I believe, is everything we need here. So let's go back and we need one more HTTP request node. So search again, HTTP, that's the one we need. And now we need a node that will actually process the data. Go back to basic OCR, to this website I mean, and we search for, it's at the top, OCR with PDF. So basically the very first one here on this website right now. That's the curl command we need. I copy this one, I go back to my workflow, and again import curl. I remove that, and I paste this one. I say import, all fields are populated, and I will need API key again. So maybe I will first change the name again to, let's say, OCR results. I will go back again and copy my API key again from this node this time. That's the API key. I go back to my OCR results node and I paste it there. But if we scroll further, we will also change this, we will also have to change this document URL. For the time being, it's like some random, I don't know what it is even, but that's not really what we need. What we need is actually our document URL. And our document URL is that signed URL that we created in previous node. And unfortunately, I can't see it here because I forgot to run it and pin the data. What we have to do, I have to go back to Canvas and maybe let's run entire workflow, all right? So I will browse for my list document again, I will select it, I will submit it, this node will just go through, get URL seems to be working fine because it's also green. I will double click on that, I will pin this data as well, because I know everything seems to be fine, and I can even see problem in node OCR results. Well, I know about it, that's because we need that URL. Node OCR results is the next node, yes? Here I want to only pin the data, I go back, and we go to OCR results. We just double click on that, we scroll down, and now we have that URL. This is this long URL, it's signed URL, which allows us to pull the file back to our PC or wherever this n8n is running. So I just drag this, it's again a JSON object that says URL, and I drag it there and paste it between those double quotes. And now we've got JSON URL. That's exactly what we need. So that's basically it. And the last thing here, this node will try to output everything as a binary file. You can see file here, yes, response format. So you can either change it to JSON, or what you can also do, you can simply remove that entire response field. And maybe I will use this option. I will simply remove, you only have this, send body, and there is nothing else. So let's now go back to Canvas. And let's try to execute that workflow again. Let's see what happens. Select, submit. It will go through these because they are pinned. Only this will be processed. Will it work as expected this time? And yes, we can see workflow executed successfully. Let me pin this data before I forget. by clicking this pin data icon. And we can actually see already what was previously barely visible text we had in that PDF. We now have it in clear format. And maybe alright, maybe let's move a few pages, no personal information is further down this document. But you can see now, it clearly says what it is. Demise premises, the lesson making good damage, therefore, blah blah. So whatever was in that poorly scanned PDF document, now I have it here and it's formatted properly. And every single page of that document is shown here as a single markdown field. If I scroll further, there is another markdown. It's another index. Index 7 means page 8 really, because computer starts counting from 0. And I can scroll further and further. Each page was translated by Mistral OCR and it's here. But it doesn't change the fact that it's still the same boring document I don't want to read. And maybe first of all, I want to get rid of all that redundant data. I don't need that, height, weight, dimensions, blah blah. I want to have it formatted properly and maybe not markdown, but maybe as a text document or Word document, or maybe, let's say, HTML document that I can simply open in this browser. And if you want to switch that view to HTML, it's actually very simple, because you go back and you add another node, which is called Markdown. That's the one. We want to switch Markdown to HTML code. There is one little issue though, because if all your documents had only one page, then you would have to go here. Page 0 is basically first page. You would want to drag this Markdown, simply first change to expression, yes. And now I can drag this field here. But the problem with that is, this is only working for page 0, which is this first page. Or if I want maybe to translate just page 1, I would remove this and I would drag that, yes? This will work only for page 1, but that's not what I need. My document has multiple pages and I need all of them to be translated to HTML, and maybe I want to also preserve the page numbers. So my query here has to be a little bit more sophisticated. And we can simply ask ChatGPT. We can copy this output here, maybe JSON, maybe in JSON format. I will just copy portion of that, and I can ask ChatGPT what JSON query I should use to preserve all the pages and to combine information only from Markdown field. I basically need each of them to be on a separate page. That will be again separate page, and that again. And that's exactly what I did. I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT came up with several solutions, because there is not one solution that works, but it told me to use, for example, that. And this indeed works as expected, because I already tested it. And the destination key, we also want to change it as HTML. So if I now go back to Canvas, let's run this workflow again. It says workflow executed successfully. So let's have a look. Let me pin that data before I forget. The input is that from OCR results. It's processed here in the middle, and the output is on my right. If I slide this view here to the right, this is HTML code that can be displayed by my browser. Again, let me scroll down, so there is no personal data. But you can see it's split into pages, and each markdown is now on separate page. And you could simply save it, and maybe that's what you need, yes? Maybe you want to display it in your browser, but that's not what I want to do. I don't want to read this document at all. I want an AI agent to have a look on that and either give me a summary of that, or maybe translate it to other language, or maybe I only need information about some fixtures, yes, like here, or external walls. Maybe I want to ask AI a very specific question. It will go through this document and will simply answer, instead of me going through 44 pages trying to find this information. And the good thing is, the HTML code is perfectly fine for AI. It doesn't need specific format. As long as it's formatted properly, like here, like it's one big blob, it can work with. For AI, it doesn't really matter if it's HTML, if it's text document, if it's Word document. This is basically something we can pass further to AI, if that's what we need. So I'll go back to Canvas, and maybe let's rearrange that a bit, because we need a space for our AI agent. So I just tick that plus, I say AI agent, let's switch the view to table, and now on the right, on the left side, on the input, but if we slide to the right, we've got this HTML code. And maybe let's scroll it down a little bit, so there is no personal information, only some generic one. And all I have to do here is to create a prompt for my AI agent. What should be the source of the prompt? And I say, I will define it below. I click that, and I simply tell it, take all the information from this HTML, which is another JSON object that stores all this data, yes? So again, change this to expression here now, and move this HTML field there. So take all the information from this field, basically everything that is there, and create a summary of that document. It's a very basic prompt. You can get more sophisticated one, or maybe you want to ask specific question, or maybe you want to translate it to other language. That's where you can specify the instruction for AI agent, what to do with it. I will just tell it to create a summary, but maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you want to do something else. That's where you specify that information. So I will go back to Canvas, because that's all we need here. And our agent is red right now, because it doesn't have any LLM model attached. And to attach LLM model, you need one more thing. You have to sign up to one of the LLMs, which means you can click that plus, but you also will need an account on one of those providers. And I have, for example, OpenAI, which has like ChatGPT and, GPT 3.5 or GPT 4.1 models. You can use Ollama, which I think has some free of charge models for you to use. But what I would really recommend is to get an account on that Open Router. Why? Let me show you. I click that Open Router. And what Open Router allows me to do, I can choose any LLM model I want. Look, I've got OpenAI here included. Let me scroll down maybe. We've got Grok from X, yes. We've got some Thought DM, I don't know what it is. The Drummer, no idea as well. Some SAO, blah blah blah, QN. And we also have Perplexity. You have one tool that has access to most of the LLMs, or maybe all of the LLMs, because most of them I've never even heard of. And you've got also OpenAI included here. Like OpenAI GPT 4.1 Mini is selected by default. But the thing is, if you want to use Open Router and OpenAI model, then you have to first create an account on Open Router, and then you have to add some credits to your account. So you have to top up, for example, $5, and then you can use those credits when you use the API keys. You would go then to API keys, you would create your API key, and once you have that API key, you go back. Let me maybe duplicate this tab. Basically go back to the main page, you create credential, and you create credential for Open Router. And you paste your API key here. But I already have one, so I don't have to do it. But if you think it's worth it, and I really recommend it, because then you have access to all LLMs. You can switch between various different large language models. And I chose 4.1 Mini, or maybe 4.1, let's change it to 4.1, not 4.1 Mini. And that's basically all I need. I can go back to Canvas. Now the AI agent is happy, it's not red anymore at least. So now, maybe let's save. It's quite a lot of work, it's worth to save every now and then. And let's execute that workflow again. Let's see what happens. My list document, select, submit. It went through because all the information is pinned, but AI agent now works on a summary of that document for us. It took a while, but it says workflow executed successfully. And if I double click on that, that's what I have currently. Here is a summary of the key information in the document provided. And it's a much shorter version. For example, alterations, no structural alterations or exterior changes without written consent. Now I have one page to go through rather than 44. Or if I have specific question about this document, I can simply change it here. And that's where we are now. But you can develop it even further. What you want to do with this document? Maybe you want to send it to WhatsApp, maybe to Telegram, maybe you want to email it somewhere. Or maybe this is just first part of your longer automation. Maybe you want to add even more nodes, maybe you want to process it even further, I don't know. You can add memory, you can add tools, you can continue that workflow, develop it even further. You can do anything you want with it. And probably every person will have different needs and will want to do different, maybe send it somewhere else. But for me this stage is completed because our document is processed and it's been summarized. And that was my goal here today. I hope the video was helpful and clear enough for you to build this solution yourself. So thank you for watching and see you later. In this video, I want to share with you a tool I built for myself in n8n that I use basically every single day. It's just a bunch of AI agents, but each AI agent has different LLM model attached, and I can access those AI agents or automations from anywhere in the world. So this is what it looks like in my browser, and I have that drop-down menu that I can use, and I can choose here any model I want to currently use. For example, GPT, Cloud, Gemini, DeepSeek, QN, Perplexity. You can configure as many as you want. And we will use OpenRouter for that, which has access to loads and loads of different LLMs, you will see shortly. So if I choose Gemini Flash, let's say, I can ask a question here. And if I want to attach a file, for example a screenshot I took, or the photo, or a text file, whatever I want, I can attach here as well, using that Choose Files button. But let's maybe run it as it is. And we can see we get the answer in no time. And I can access that web page from any PC, laptop, phone, or even from my TV. And no, I'm not joking, here it is. It's me accessing my AI agents from my TV. But that means I always have access to that automation from any device I want. And we will build all of that today from scratch. If you look at the actual automation running in the background, it might look a little bit complicated, but what it really is just a single AI agent that I copied 8 times and I just changed the LLM model. And you will see shortly what I mean. It's very basic automation, believe me, and you don't need any previous experience to follow this video. You can start building it right now with me. But anyways, first we need that n8n platform, yes? And if you don't have your own n8n yet, then there are multiple options you can choose from. You can even self-host your n8n platform on your laptop or PC, but and we had a video about it, but then attaching a domain might be a little bit challenging because you need something called like ngrok or Cloudflare tunnel to make it working. What you can use instead, you can use for example AWS platform, where you can run a server for free for 6 months or even longer if you include credits. Or you can use other cloud providers like Hostinger, which I'm using right now. And I think it's the easiest option, which also automatically provides you a domain, so you don't have to worry about it. Hostinger has recently become a very popular option for self-hosting n8n because they offer a VPS that comes pre-configured with everything you need to start creating your automations. Just go to hostinger.com/automation avenue and it will take you directly to the landing page for that self-hosted n8n virtual private server. You simply scroll down a little bit and you will see all available VPS plans. This is where you choose the size of your server. Then you choose how long you will need this server for. Hostinger gave me a code that you can use, and the code is Automation Avenue. Once you apply that code, you will get 10% extra off that price. Then you just continue, and you have to register. If you don't have an account already, I mean. I will create a new account, and then it will get you to this page, where you choose a location for your server. I will stick to United Kingdom, it's fine, so I click Next. And here, you can choose either plain OS, you can choose CentOS, Debian, etc. But what we are interested in is the application. And you can choose here, for example, Vanilla n8n. That's what I'm interested in. But you can maybe want to go for the one that has already applied 100 workflows, or maybe so-called n8n in queue mode. But as I said, I'm fine with just n8n. That's what I need. And then you can choose if you want to have malware scanner included. I will leave it as it is, which means I can click Finish Setup now. Now you can click that Manage VPS, which is Virtual Private Server, and this is it. This is your server up and running. And if you click that Manage App button, it will take you straight to your n8n application. It couldn't get any easier. Because I open it for the first time, it will ask me to set up owner account. So you type like email address, your name, the last name, and you create a password. Then you just click Next, just fill in a form, whatever, and that takes you straight to your application. This is your n8n platform up and running. And that's what it looks like right now, and you can create your n8n AI agents and workflow automations. Let's create another one then. I say create workflow, here in the top right corner. And we always have to start with the trigger. Let's create that so-called trigger. I click that plus, and I'm looking for n8n form. That's the one, and it says on new form event. And at the very top, you've got very interesting thing. You've got that test URL and production URL. These are the locations, URLs, that you can simply copy and they will work over the internet because this is fully qualified domain name. That's what I was talking about. If you are self-hosting on laptop or PC, this part is a little bit challenging. But here with Hostinger, you don't even have to think about it. They will provide you with those URLs, which is great. For the time being, let's leave it. Next field is authentication. And yes, we will use the authentication, but for the time being, let's leave it as none. The form title, let's call it just chat. Form description, let's say multiple LLMs. And form elements, let's add some elements. Don't worry if you don't know what it is about. You will see shortly what we are doing here. Let's just add that form element, and I will say LLM to use. Element type, I want drop down. And for the time being, let's call it just GPT, maybe. Or GPT 4.1, I think I had in original form. And I will make it required field. We have to choose this. And what we can do now, we can test that URL. Let's check that test URL maybe. I can click here, it will copy that long URL. It says form URL copied. I will open new tab and I will just paste it. It will now not work because it says form triggering isn't listening yet. But if we go back and if we say execute step, you can now see it listening. And in fact, you don't even have to open in new tab. It's basically just displayed here in a new window. If it's not displayed, you have to search for like a little warning that a pop-up window was blocked or something like that. You have to allow n8n to display those pop-up windows, alright? And this is basically this form we are working on. The form title is chat. The form description is multiple LLMs. The form element, first form element, we only have one so far, is called LLM to use. And in the drop-down menu, we've got this GPT-4.1. Now I can submit that form. And look at that, node executed successfully. We can close it now. And yes, let's pin it. It says you can pin this output instead of waiting for a test event. Let's pin it. This output simply will be saved temporarily here. Or you know what, maybe not yet, because we want to add some more elements. We've got that form element LLM to use. That will let us choose GPT-4.1, for example, but we also need a field for our instruction for the GPT-4. So I will add another form element here. I will call it instruction for LLM. Element type, this time it can be text, where I can ask my LLM some questions or provide some instructions, yes. And in the placeholder, I will just say type here. And I will also make it required field. So now, if I go, I will copy that test URL. I will execute this step now. It's listening again. If I open it in a new window, paste it and go, we can see now we have a new option. First one is that LLM to use, where I can choose my GPT-4.1, and we've got that new field where I can type my instruction, like what is n8n for, I don't know. If I submit it now, it says form submitted, and if we go back to our automation, oh, already disappeared, but it was saying it was submitted successfully. But in our form, we also had the field where we could attach file, yes? So I will add yet another form element, and I will say attach file. Element type, I will choose file. I will let multiple files to be attached, that's not a problem. Maybe sometimes I want to ask AI question about multiple files, not about a single file. And here you can filter what type of files you want to accept. Only JPEGs, only PNG, maybe only TXT, let's say. But if you leave it clear, it will simply accept all file types. But I will not make this field required. Not always my question to my LLM model is about a picture or snapshot or something that I attach, yes? Maybe I have a simple question like what is 2 plus 2, yes? Then I will send it with no picture or file attached. So we leave it not required, and we also can change here respond when the workflow finishes. Because we don't want to have it as soon as form is submitted. When we work on our workflow, we want to have a response when workflow is finished, complete workflow including AI agents. So if I execute it now, again, paste and go. Now we have the drop-down menu with a single option, but we have it there. Instruction we can provide, and we can also now attach a file. If I click this button, you can see I can browse for any files I might have, and I can attach them if I want. What is 2 plus 2, let's say? I will not attach the file at this stage, and I will submit it. If I go back, it says node executed successfully. And now we can pin it. I will pin it so it will be saved, because that's all we need really. There is one more thing we can change. In this chat you can see form automated with n8n. If you want to get rid of this, let's go back here, and in options you can add that append n8n automation, attribution, and you can see it's enabled by default. If I disable it, it will display this form with no attribution, which is this form automated with n8n. But that's, it's not really important. Anyways, we can now go back to Canvas. This form element is now completed, at least for the time being. Now we can add our AI agent. I click that little plus, I say AI, and I say AI agent. And on the left, you can see what comes to the AI agent from the previous node, from this n8n form. You can see all of our fields: LLM to use, GPT-4.1, instruction for LLM, attach file. Currently there is no file attached, but they are basically all the elements that we had in our form. And the middle section is for our AI agent, what it has to do with that stuff on the left. So I say source for prompt, I use that drop-down menu and I change it to define below. And here in this window, I just say, it's very basic, it will be user message, and I will just drag this field, instruction for LLM. This is what I said, what is 2 plus 2, yes? This is my question to my LLM model, to my AI agent that will use LLM model. So I simply drag this field here. User message is whatever is in this field, instruction for LLM. And then user file, and maybe let's add optional, because you will not always have user file, and user file will be here in this attach file field. Currently there is no file, but it doesn't matter. I simply drag this field. Whenever there is a file, AI agent will know about it and will be able to read it. And that's it, it can be as simple as it is, just these two fields, user message, user file optional. Now we click that add option and we choose system message. System message tells our AI agent what is its role and what is it supposed to do with all that stuff that comes from the user. It starts with you are helpful assistant, but maybe let me clear that and I will copy paste my message because it's pretty long. I will paste it here. And it says, you are a helpful assistant that analyzes documents and answers questions about them. No, that's not correct, sorry. That responds to user messages, maybe. You can fiddle with that system message, whatever, suits you best. Maybe you have specific instructions for the AI, so you can change it to whatever you want. So we are a helpful assistant that responds to user messages. When a user submits a file, carefully review its content and provide summary, direct answers, relevance. I will add also, please note, the file is optional, so if there is no file, then just respond to what is in user message. Field. That's it. This is it, but now we have to attach chat model. This is the most important bit, yes? Our AI agent is dumb if it doesn't have any chat model attached, like a large language model, yes? We click this little plus, or, you can choose it here, but if you are here on this page, you can also click just here this little plus next to chat model. Takes you to the same choice of models. And you can choose like Anthropic, like specific ones, Google Gemini, DeepSeek, but I would highly recommend to go to that Open Router chat model instead, because this Open Router will give you access to all LLMs, even to the ones that you've never heard of, like Kimi, PH, Mistral, really good one, Minimax, loads, like Llama, from Meta. You got loads and loads. Google Gemini, look at that, how many of them, just from Google. But to have access to Open Router API, you first need to create an account with Open Router. I already have an account with Open Router, so if you don't have one yet, you simply sign up to openrouter.ai. And then, once you are on that website, you can see all the models available, and there are some models that are free of charge, and you can use it straight away. But if you want to access all models, then you have to add some credits to your account. As you can see, I still have $14, and I can add more credits if I want. And once you add some credits, even like $5 or whatever, then you will get access to all LLM models. And this is a real beauty because you can access them all from one single place. And then you can go to API keys, and I've got a key, but I can create also a new key. By default, you will have no key, yes? Then you create a new key, you call it like a n8n new key, maybe. You can set credit limit, maybe $3. And once this limit is reached, this key stops working. And you just create it. And this is my API key that I can now copy. It's copied. I go back to my n8n, and what I can do now, in these credentials, I can create a new credential. You can ignore this one, this is my current API key, but you will have no keys at all, yes? So you have to click that create new credential. And now I just call it n8n new key, maybe with underscores, and I will paste my key. And I save it. Connection tested successfully, which means my API key works as expected. That's what it is. Credential to connect with my API key, it connects me to Open Router, and the model, yes, let's leave it as it is. GPT 4.1. It's chosen by default, and that's what we also chose in our drop-down menu. That's basically it. We can go back to Canvas, and our AI agent should be completed now. I go back to my form then. I copy my test URL. Let's execute the step. Oh, yes, I can now unpin the data. It's listening for form submission. Let me close the old ones. I will create new one. New tab, paste and go. LLM, we choose GPT 4.1. I ask some silly like, what we already asked, what is 2.2? I submit it, but now this will go. If we go to AI agent, I can say execute step. Now it's executing the step. And the answer is 2.2 equals 4. Which is great. We've got the answer, but we've got the answer only here, yes? We want the answer back on our website. I want this answer here, in my form. I don't want it locally here only, yes? I want this answer to be fed back to my form. So what I do now, I'll go back to Canvas, and we need another node. I click that little plus, and I say n8n. Again, it's n8n form, but now I say form ending. And the page type and n8n form submission, they can be both left as they are. Completion title, I say maybe response from. Let's see what we have available here. These are all the fields I have available, and I want to say that it's response from my LLM that I chose. So I drag this field again. Response from whatever LLM was used. And completion message is the answer from my AI agent. I actually only have one field from AI agent, and it is output, but that's exactly what I need. I need the output to be here, in my completion message. And that's basically it. If we execute step now, look at that. Another pop-up window, it shows us what the response looks like. And I think it looks okay. It tells me what model was in use, and it gives me the response from my chat model. But what you will see, what you will notice, if we go back, if we save it, I keep forgetting to save sometimes, and I lose part of the work. You have to save as often as possible. And basically, if we go back, if I copy the test URL, if I execute the step, paste and go, GPT, what is 3 plus 3 maybe, submit. If you run it like that, it will not show, that's what you might be tempted to do. It will not show you the answer, yes? But you can, I mean, there are many things you can do, but you can actually make it production now. You say active, you can activate that workflow, and you can use your production URL. You switch to production, you copy this, and now, if you paste it, let's check. What is 3 plus 3? Now you get this response, yes? So there is a little difference, I mean, between test and production links. You have to bear that in mind. But what I also wanted to show you is this field here is very narrow. If you have long output, because this is basic question, 3 plus 3. But what if you like asking about the meaning of life or whatever? The answer might be very long, but this field will be very narrow, so the answer will be like in million different lines. We can make this answer wider, this entire window wider, okay? Let me show you how to do that. Let's go back. And in the last form, if you choose that options, you can see that custom form styling. And if we make it bigger maybe, you can see all the form styling. And what you need to find is dimensions. You can see them here. They are the dimensions of this little window. And we want to make it wider. And what I tend to do is I tend to change from pixels, like 448 pixels. You can change to either 90, let's say VW, it's so-called viewport, or you can simply use percent of the width available. Or maybe not even 90, but 98%. Let's use that 98%, and if I close it, now if we run it again, save, remember to save it. Once it's saved, you can just open again, paste and go, GPT, what is 3, maybe what is n8n for, let's choose this one. It will generate longer output. We submit it now, and now you can see this window is much wider. You can play with those settings, this is just one setting. You can change the spacing, you can change the fonts, etc. You can customize it any way you wish. I am not that picky, so I left everything else as it was, but you can play with that if you want. There are many other settings you can change. And believe me or not, but we are nearly there. You will say, Marek, but we only have one large language model, yes? Well, yes, that's true, but it's very easy now to add many more. We simply, let's remove this link here. So we detach that on-form submission. I can simply now highlight everything, and I say duplicate 3 nodes. This is it. Let's rearrange a bit. And here in the middle, we add another node called switch. That will switch between different LLM models. And we create rules. First rule, I will drag LLM to use. That's the only difference between them. And I say when that LLM to use equals GPT-4.1, which is this value, and that's it for now. Let's go back to Canvas. You can see a new connection was created. And when I choose the GPT 4.1, I want this switch to connect to this AI agent, because it uses GPT 4.1 as my LLM model. Now let's go back to this agent, and in Open Router, I will change it to whatever. Maybe Anthropic Cloud Sonnet 4.5. What I have to do now, I have to go to form submission, I have to add that option, I will call it just Cloud maybe, that's it. Just remember, whatever you put here, you have to copy, it has to be exactly the same in the following nodes. Like in the switch, I double click on the switch, I add another routing rule. If this field LLM to use will equal to, I will paste my Cloud. We go back to Canvas, we can see another connection was created, and that is for Cloud. That simply will be attached to this AI agent, which uses Cloud as Open Router chat model. Maybe let's save it now and see if it works. So I say execute workflow, we can test it here, and we can see now 2 options. I will choose Cloud, and I will ask it, what is n8n for? Maybe let's move it a bit, so we can see which AI agent it goes to. I submit it, and as you can see, it goes to Cloud. Let's wait for a while. And we've got the response from Cloud. n8n is workflow automation, blah blah blah. And this is basically what you have to do. You have to do it for every single agent. If you want more of them, it's super easy. You copy everything again, you duplicate them, and you just... one sec. For this one, let's say I will use DeepSeek. So I go back, starting from the form submission, I need to add another field option. I will call it DeepSeek. Let's copy it. And on the switch, it has to be under the same name. I just add another routing rule. When LLM to use will equal to DeepSeek, then I will attach it to this AI agent. Save. Don't forget to save, because it won't work if you don't save. And now, let's execute the workflow. We've got now DeepSeek. What is n8n for? Submit. And oh, you can see, yeah, it uses DeepSeek now. Let's wait for the answer. And that's response from DeepSeek. So it's a great tool to test many different LLM models. You can attach as many LLMs as you want to this switch. Just remember that on form submission and on the switch they have to be under the same name, so that switch understands what is coming, yes? The last thing you should think of is to add authentication, because this URL, for example, like you can see it here. I mean, I will remove that entire automation. This is just for testing. But if you overlooked somebody else's URL, you could simply start using it, yes? Because there is no authentication at all. So let's start using authentication. I already have like a basic auth I created, but in your case, you will have no authentication method. So you have to go back all the way to all the projects, and you don't create workflow, you create credential. And you create basic auth. Say continue. You can call it whatever, my auth, my authentication. And let's say my user will be Marek, and my password, whatever you want your password to be. I save this my auth. Now I can go back to the workflows, to my new workflow, to the form. And for basic auth, I choose that credential that I have just created. I called it my auth. It only supports basic authentication for now. Maybe it will change in the future. But if you create complicated username and password, I think it's good enough, you know. Yeah, so now, if we go back to production, if we save it first, yes. Let me copy the production URL. So if I open it, now it will ask me for my credentials. It was Marek, and the password was whatever you configured it to. It's a simple authentication to get to your web page. Hope that makes sense. I hope that video was helpful, and thank you for watching. It's going to be a very short video. I simply want to show you how to obtain thousands and thousands of n8n workflows completely free of charge. It's simply another day where I see people complaining that they were scammed because they were trying to buy premium n8n templates, also called premium, you know, workflows, for like $20 or $30, and these templates either never arrived, or maybe they even received some files, but they have no idea what to do with those files. And the fact is, if somebody is trying to sell 1,000 or 2,000 workflows, then it means that these workflows were never theirs anyways. They simply try to resell some stuff that they found online themselves. I honestly don't really even understand why people would fall for that, because I think it only really makes sense if you want to buy one very specific, crafted for you workflow that is designed to solve your particular problem. But if you are looking for thousands and thousands of templates, then they are already available in multiple places, and they are completely free of charge. Well, the funny thing is that even on the n8n website, there is already over 4,500 workflows available. You just go to n8n /workflows, something like that, and you can simply copy-paste all those workflows straight to your n8n. But honestly, these scammers didn't even bother to copy-paste thousands of templates from n8n website. What they do, they are selling the workflows that are already available on GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, or other remote repositories. So how to find ones on the n8n website is very simple, but let me show you how you can easily find those other ones in remote repositories. Let's just Google something like, I don't know, GitHub n8n workflows. I will just press enter, and I will pick, I don't know, very first link, okay? It already says like this one is 1000 workflows. Here in first link we've got 2053 workflows. Okay, that's fine. And the workflows are here in this folder. But let's see what to do exactly. We can see README file, it will tell you, okay, it's 2053 workflows, and there is even some documentation system. Looks like it's something that you can open in the browser, so let's have a look further. What does it say? We've got some categories, etc. Alright, usage instruction. Modern fast system, recommended. Okay, let's follow these steps then. First it says git clone and repo URL. What I will do then, I will open my terminal, and I say git clone, and the repo URL, we have to scroll up and this is the repo URL. You have to click that code, and this HTTPS GitHub blah blah blah, that's what we have to copy. I will go back, paste it, and I will press enter. Those files are now being downloaded from GitHub, to my, this is actually Ubuntu server. So if I run lsli, don't need a, but I can see the folder n8n workflows. It's just been created. That means I have those files now locally here on my Ubuntu. Let's have a look then what we should do next. Git clone, that's done. cd into that folder, okay. I cd n8n workflows, which means I change directory. I'm now in my home directory in n8n workflows. What do we do next? It says to run pip install R requirements. Oh, I don't even have pip installed here. Let me just copy this. Ubuntu tells me what to do. I paste the command. And now it says, start the documentation server. It's really interesting. Let's see what it is. I have no idea, to be honest. But this is my test server anyways. I can't break it. Even if I break anything here, it doesn't really matter. The good thing about GitHub or GitLab or other remote repositories is that you can see exactly what is in those files before you download them. But here, this is my test server, so I will run this command. Python run py. Oh, for me it's actually Python 3. Run py. It says I have missing dependencies, uvicorn and fast API. Should be picked up previously, but let's run that manually. Probably something with the requirements.txt file. But let's run again that Python 3 run py command. Python 3, sorry. We can see this server is now running. I can simply copy this. I will paste it into my browser and let's see what it is. And seems like these are the templates available, and you even have a search field. Let's say YouTube. What have we got for YouTube? Oh, there are multiple workflows specifically for YouTube. That looks good. And it says if you want to stop this server running within, on your server, you can simply press Ctrl C, which means if I press Ctrl C, this is now stopped. If I refresh, you can see unable to connect. If I go back to my terminal, so if I run it again, it should be now available again. And it is. It even seems to have a dark mode. Oh yeah, it has. And here you search, and let's pick any of those. Maybe post new YouTube videos to X. Let's click on that. Gives you some description. It says download JSON, view, and oh, there is a diagram as well. We can view the JSON code. That's cool. That means we can copy it here, or we can download, but I just copied that, and I should be able to paste it on my n8n platform. As I create workflow, and I just run Ctrl V. And that's it. Let's double click to have a look. Let's zoom to fit. Looks like extremely basic one, but honestly that's what you would get paying $20 anyways. But looks like we indeed have loads and loads of templates here available, and that's how easy it is to get them. Just Google and download already available ones, rather than paying money to some scammers online. That's all I wanted to show today really, so hope that helps. Thank you, Marek. What if I told you that there is a tool that lets you access loads and loads of AI models available today, like ChatGPT, Grok, Cloud, DeepSeek, and many more, even some that you might have never heard of, and they're all in one place, but most importantly, you can access them all completely free of charge. And this tool will also show you which AI models are currently the best, and you will also be able to test them yourself. And regarding testing, there is one very interesting way to test AI models within that tool, where you, for example, ask one question, then you get multiple answers from various AI models, but you don't know which ones. And you simply pick the answer that, in your opinion, that you like the best, simply. And you will find out only what AI model wrote that answer after you pick that favorite answer. Okay, so in this video, you will see how to use that tool and why it is available for free. And I think after my last few sentences, you might start getting the idea why you can access these AI models free of charge. But let's start from the beginning. The tool I'm talking about is called LM Arena. And you can just Google LM Arena and pick the top link. As you can imagine, the fact that you ask questions and pick what you think is the best answer makes you kind of AI tester for that website. I mean, you can click that, what is it, trophy, like World Cup, leaderboard icon, okay, in the top left corner, and you will see the score for each AI model displayed in real time. And there are different sections, like which one is best for text, for web development. You can also click that top sections, like it will show you only for text, yes? And we can see that Gemini 2.5 Pro is current leader in this section, and text to image, GPT Image 1 currently. And when you use this website, you simply participate in that ranking. You have a say which AI model is, in your opinion, better than the other. So basically, you could say that you are an AI tester for that LM Arena. So before we enter anything here, before we start typing anything, there is one important thing to understand, because it has some implications. You have to be aware that whatever you type here, it will be sent to multiple AI models or multiple organizations like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, X, etc. Yes? So you have to be careful what you type in and not to type some sensitive data or some company internal documents, yes? I mean, it should be true even if you use a single AI model like, let's say, ChatGPT. But here on this website, you have to be extra careful to not just send some important data, because this data might land in multiple destinations at the same time. Alright, but let's talk about this tool then. And by the way, LM Arena is not a new tool, it's been there for a while, but it was previously meant to be configured and accessed via developers or software engineers, but now they have that new user interface that is much more user-friendly and everybody can access it and understand what is going on here. So we already know that first icon, that leaderboard icon, we know that it will show us the results, which AI model is current leader for given section, but the next one is Open New Chat. Let's click on that, and now, at the top, you have a drop-down menu, and you can choose between Battle, Side by Side, and Direct Chat. And Battle is the one that I already mentioned. It's a battle between two anonymous models. So you don't know which models participate, you simply pick the best answer you think, or let's say the answer that you like most. So if I click on that, it's chosen by default anyways. Let's say, I don't know, tell me a funny joke. And I think all those AI models do not seem to understand the term funny. So let's see, why don't skeletons ever go on dates? Because they have no body to love, alright? And I mean, you simply have some examples, yes? Let's say I like this joke more. Or maybe not the joke itself, but also how it's said, yes? So let's say I pick this one. I mean, that's not the only choice here. You can see left is better, it's a tie, both are bad, or right is better. Maybe I would say left is better. Now, it will, well, it prompts like, I have to verify I am human. And we can see the last one was coming from Gemma 3 model, and the right one from Gemini 2.5 Flash. So that's the battle, yes? But now, if we choose, for example, this side by side, they are not anonymous anymore, because I can simply choose a specific AI model, and you can see like Mistral small QWQ, Command A. There are many different models like Amazon Nova. Let's say Cloud 3.7 Sonnet, alright? And right one, maybe Grok 3. I will repeat that. Tell me a funny joke. Let's see what they will come up with. So it's kind of similar, but we know from the beginning which models participate in that, yes? And now we can make the same choice. Right is better, left is better, or, But what I want to mention as well, look at this drop-down menu. You don't have to just type text here, yes? I mean, you can choose image creation. Yes, create a new chat window. And now, well, it changed the models, because for image creation, we have different models, yes? So if I choose side by side, we can see it's GPT Image 1. We've got Flux Context Max, Flux Context Pro, and some other models, like Photon, that are able to create images. And then we can describe the image we want to create, but basically the idea is the same, yes? So if I say create a photorealistic image of an elephant riding a bike. we can see the timer starts, how long it will take them to generate that image. And let's see, I have no idea what that bugle is, to be honest, but never mind. So Photon was first. It took around 30 seconds for Photon to create. Well, it looks pretty good. I mean, I can't see the pedals, but it is an elephant on the bike. Let's see. Let's wait for that bugle to complete this task. So yes, it took much longer, and I don't really like it because it doesn't make much sense, does it? The front legs are on the pedals. This one, at least the Photon, tried to hide this fact that it's very difficult to put an elephant on a bike. Never mind, you get the idea. Let's change it back to text, to chat, sorry. Yes, start new session, because the models will change again. And now I just wanted to show you the third option, which is not side by side, but direct chat. But this is kind of self-explanatory, because you simply choose one and you just work. Hunyan turbos. Okay, tell me a funny joke. What Hunyan turbos will come up with? Let's see. Alright, came up with something, but we can see we can't compare it to anything, yes? But we can still use it. So maybe let's see how useful they really are, because telling jokes is just not a proper task, yes? Let's say maybe side by side. Side by side, chat, and let's choose something like more popular. Cloud, it's fine. ChatGPT, I want to create maybe HTML websites, so maybe Grok, doesn't really matter. And let's say, can you create a code for my website? And I mean, code can include only HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Basically, what I'm trying to do, I'm on Ubuntu server, so let's maybe install nginx quickly, and we will just change the index.html file. That's my idea, but nginx can natively only work with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, so let's stick to that, and I will say that I can keep as a single index HTML, and can be served by nginx alone, with no backend. It can be any website. No, maybe the one that includes some funny jokes. Alright, press enter, let's have a go, and let's see what they come up with. So they start with, okay, Sonnet seems to be a bit quicker. Grok is a bit slower here, definitely. Oh, look at how much code Cloud already generated, sorry. Oh, it's completed, nice. So let's wait for Grok to complete. The fact that Cloud finished first doesn't mean anything yet, yes. Let's see what Grok comes up with. If it's good, maybe it's much better than Cloud, so yeah. In the meantime, okay, we will leave it running. It doesn't really matter how long it generates this code. If it's good, I'm more than happy with that. So let's just open the terminal. Let's install, because I don't have nginx. Have I? No, I don't think. No, I don't have nginx. So I say sudo apt install nginx. And maybe I will -y, I will do that, sudo password. That's cool, let me clear that. My nginx should be up and running. I can check with systemctl status nginx. And it is up and running for 13 seconds. Okay, that's cool. So if it's running, it already serves a website. If I go here, oh, look at that, Grok still, creating that. No, it's created, but it creates really good instruction, it looks like. All right, so let's open another window. If I run HTTP localhost, I should have, yes, that's the response from nginx. So if I go here, if I see, maybe clear again, clear. cd var html lsl. So this is basically this text index. What we can see here, welcome to nginx, if you see full page, blah blah, it's this nginx, if you see this page. It's basically this single file, index.nginx.debian, -debian.html. And now we can just copy, alright, let's copy Cloud's code first. It generated it much quicker, so copy the code, and let's vim. We will change sudo. We will change that file now. What, I don't have Vim? I mean, I could use nano as well, but well, I'm already installing Vim, so never mind. Because I thought Vim is there by default, but looks like it's not. It's a fresh server, there is nothing running on it. So, okay, again, sudo vim d99d, it will remove everything, 99 lines it will remove. We will paste the code we got from what? From Cloud Sonnet. I press :WQ to save this file, and now if I go to HTTP localhost, oh, that's the website. Random joke generator. Tell me a joke. What do you call a fish wearing a bow tie? Sophisticated. Alright. Tell me another joke. Well, never mind. You know, this is what it looks like. That's what this website looks like. It's not bad, is it? Because it took it like 10 seconds to generate it, and okay, I thought maybe it would be worse, but it's not bad. Let's see what Grok created for us. Whoa, oh, it's a long code. Okay, let's see. Copy, and we will now paste this code. I will say sudo again, d9990, because there were many lines, so I will remove them all. I will paste this one, :WQ. And now let's refresh and see. Whoa, looks better. Okay, so that's what I was talking about. Oh, it took longer, but look at that, it looks much better. Oh, they're going up and down, those faces, those little faces. Let's see if the jokes are actually funny. Get a new joke. Why did the banana go to the doctor? It wasn't peeling well. Alright, I've heard worse. But generally, this website isn't bad, is it? It's very simple. It has two colors, blending in the middle. Not bad at all. Okay, that's basically it. This website isn't very sophisticated, but you can see you can achieve a lot in very quick time, and you can do it for free. We will go through the process of running n8n software in AWS Cloud, and I will show you how to run that n8n server in AWS Cloud free of charge for a year. If you wonder why would you want to run your server in AWS, well, this is simply more professional, production-ready, let's say, approach, where you run n8n services in public cloud rather than on your local machine. It might be useful for you to know how to configure it all from scratch. If you or one of your customers need that more professional setup, you will simply know how to configure and host that server for yourself or for other organizations. There is also additional benefit, because running it this way makes all external connections to your n8n server possible, because we are going to buy a domain and we will use that so-called fully qualified domain name to run our services. And I know that it might sound confusing at the moment, but don't worry about it. This is again a step-by-step tutorial, so we will learn all of that from scratch again. In the first video, we will create our own AWS account. We will also talk about something called a free tier, the thing that lets us run that server for a year that I mentioned, for free. And then we will talk about multi-factor authentication, and then in the next video, in the second video regarding AWS, we will talk about so-called AWS Budget. And that budget is used to monitor our expenses, that if we have any, because hopefully we will run everything for free. But maybe you want to run some paid services, then that's where AWS Budget comes in handy. And then, in third video, we will install and configure our n8n server in AWS Cloud. So let's get started. Today I will show you entire step-by-step process of how to create new AWS account. This is new, fresh operating system with absolutely nothing configured, and we'll be creating here new AWS account. Let me open the browser, and we'll navigate to something like AWS free tier. And what free tier is, we'll talk about it later. But now let me just explain shortly. It's simply an AWS offering that lets you using loads and loads of resources for a year for free. When you create new account, you can use those services for free for 1 year. But we'll talk about it later when we actually create resources. Now we're creating the account itself. So as you can see here, I have create an AWS account. Let's click that because that's what we are interested in, yes? It takes me to that web page with that create a free account button. So let's click on that. And maybe let's accept those cookies. And now what I need is some kind of email address. It can be any email address you use or you own. You just have to be sure you can access that email during the sign-up process, yes? I will just use gmail.com. This is important bit. The one below, it's just an alias for your account, so it can be anything you want it to be called. Automation Avenue, but it's not that important really. The email is important here. I click verify email address, and now I will have to just wait for the email to arrive. Oh, as you could probably hear, the email has just arrived, and I've received a verification code. I have to type it here and click verify. Okay, now I have to create the password for root user. We'll talk about it a little bit later, who is actually root user, but now let's just create a password. And as you can see, it has to include uppercase, lowercase, number, and non-alphanumeric character. Just make sure you've got that all. Even when I just start typing, let's say capital letter, as you can see, first box is ticked, lower letter, now digit, and now non-alphanumeric. As you can see, all those boxes are ticked, so my password is good enough for them. Now I have to repeat it, and that's it. We can continue. Just wanted to note, here on the left, you have a link if you want to explore those free tier products. This is the link you can use. But never mind, at this stage we'll just concentrate on the sign-up process. So I'll just click continue. I will save the password. And now it asks me for contact information. It asks me if it's business account or personal account. I will treat it as personal account. Anyway, if it's business, it will ask you for organization name as well. Let's click personal. And my name is... You have to give them name and address, yes, and the phone number. And you agree that you've read the customer agreement. So we can go further to step 2. Now it asks you for billing information. That's where you have to provide your credit or debit card number, because, as I said, there are some free services you can use, but you can, by signing up, you can use all services, the ones that are free and the ones that you have to pay for. That's why you have to put the credit card details, but in later videos I will show you how to create budget. This budget will inform you if you started using some services that you have to pay for. But for the time being, we have to put that information in to be able to progress. So that's the credit card, and we can go further. As I used my Revolut card, I have to confirm that in the banking application. I click confirm, and that authorizes this step. Now it asks me for a telephone number to use to confirm the identity, and I will use the same that I used previously on previous page. Now the captcha. Hope I have it right. If it's completely messy, you can also always refresh it. It will generate new one. Because some of them are generated in such a weird way that you can barely see what's there. Okay, now let's wait for the verification code sent to my phone number. And as you could hear, it's just arrived. And we can continue to step number 4. Here it asks me again what type of account I really need. So we'll go obviously with the free one. I don't want to pay $29 a month or $100. The free one is more than we need really. And that's it. We click complete sign up. As you can see, it was quick and easy process. And it says we are... Oh, okay, as you can hear, AWS says we are activating your account, but I believe it's just been activated. So yes, received the email, it said that I can start using my account. So I can click either this button or that button, doesn't really matter. Let's maybe click this one. Go to AWS Management Console. And now it asks me if I want to sign in as a root user or the IAM user. We really only have root at this stage. So for the time being, as there is no choice, we only have root user, we'll put the email address we used for the sign-up process. So for me it was gmail.com. We'll click next, and the password, the one that you just created as well for this user. And sign in. Not bad, is it? We are already in our AWS console, that's what it's called, AWS console, where we can do everything regarding this account or our resources. First thing I want to show you, it's here, that says Automation Avenue. Remember, that's the alias we actually pasted during the sign-up process. So instead of some long weird digits, it will be automation avenue will be used here. For you, it can be anything you want to name this account as. The next thing is we can see Stockholm. Well, weirdly chosen, I don't know why, but that's what we call AWS region. This is where you want to create your resources. As you can see, you can create it all over the world. Let me just change it to London, because that's the closest for me. What I want you to do is to activate multi-factor authentication for the root user. That's very important. This account has to be very secure. What you can do, here in this search field, you can put IAM. We'll click that, and you can see that even the Amazon itself, there's a security recommendation 1, add MFA for root user. To be honest, every single user you create should have MFA enabled, in my opinion, but root one is definitely one you need to create MFA authentication for. We can add MFA here, clicking this button. And now we have a choice what we want to use as a second separate authentication method. So the easiest way, I think, is Authenticator app, which is chosen by default anyways. You can call, for example, for me it will be my Samsung phone. I can use that as an authenticator. That doesn't really matter, it's just for you, information for you. And we can choose Authentication app, click Next. And now you can see you will have to install one of the applications on your phone, either Google Authenticator, Duo Mobile, or some other apps that the list of all applications you can see here. But basically, you need just one of them. Google is a really good one. I can recommend that one. And then, once you've installed that application, you have to click that Show QR code and just scan it with your phone. Once you scan it, you will receive MFA code, which you will have to paste here twice. I mean, first code and second code. And this way, you will add that device as authorized one to receive the MFA codes. I will not do that because this is just temporary account. I will remove it later on, but you definitely should do that. Okay, so I think at this stage, I don't want this video to be too long, so I think that's it for today. In next video, I will show you how to create that budget before you start actually creating any resources in AWS Cloud. But you've got your own AWS account now, so congratulations. See you next time. In previous video, we created our new AWS account, we created and logged on as a root user, and we added MFA authentication for that root user. What is next most important thing is that we should know how much money AWS services will cost us, if any. We can either try to not spend any money there, just using free tier eligible services, but maybe we are okay to spend some money, but we don't want to exceed certain threshold, like maybe $10 a month, let's say. But one way or another, we definitely want to be in control of our budget. And that's what AWS Budget service exactly is for. Being logged on to our console, still as a root user, we can type here in the services, we can search for budget. And we can see here budgets as of billing and cost management feature, or we can simply click that billing and cost management service, which budget is part of. So maybe let's click the top one. Doesn't really matter. Here you usually see some summary, how much last month it cost you, what's prediction for this month, but because this is new account, there is no data available yet. But doesn't really matter because what we need is budgets here in the left down corner. So let's click that budget. And as you can see, we can create a new budget here by clicking this button. Now we have a choice of using a template or we can customize, so using advanced settings. Let's stick to just simplified version. And now what type of template do we want to use? By default you can see zero spent budget. Create a budget that notifies you once your spending exceeds 1 cent, which is above the AWS free tier limit. And that sounds good, doesn't it? Because that means if I spend any money on anything, I will get a notification. Also, that's important to remember, the AWS budget will not disable any resources for us. It's not meant to be. It will only notify us every time we exceed certain threshold we configure here. So the first threshold will be that 1 cent. If we use any service that we have to pay for, it will send an email to the email address we specify here below. So maybe before we go there, there is a budget name as well. It's called My Zero Spend Budget, which is okay, but let me just personalize it, maybe Marek, zero spend budget. Doesn't really matter, it's just a name. And here is where we enter the email address. And as you can see, it doesn't have to be one. You can put multiple email addresses here, you just have to separate them using commas. I will just use one, let's say Marek@Automation Avenue. That's it. If I wanted another one, I just use comma and blah blah blah. Yeah, but I'll just use this one. And that's it really, I believe, because yes, we can leave everything else as it is. And you can see a confirmation. You will be notified via email when any spend above 1 cent is incurred. That's fine, that's what I want. So we create a budget. And that's it. We've got our budget, and don't ask me why it always shows $1 rather than 1 cent. I don't know why it is like that, but it should be for 1 cent. But that's not a big deal, it works as expected actually. But maybe we want to create another budget. What if we want to sometimes use some services, but we don't want to exceed $10 a month? So we can create just another budget and set threshold to that. So let's click Create Budget. We'll leave it as a template, simplified, which is much easier. And now we will change from zero spend budget to maybe this one, monthly cost budget. What's interesting about it, as you can see, it notifies you if you exceed or are forecasted to exceed the budget amount. If you start a new month and on the first day you exceeded $1, this AWS budget can see you will actually exceed $10 by the end of the month. It will send you notification before you actually reach that $10 threshold, because it's forecasted for you to exceed that by the end of the month. I hope that makes sense. Because our ultimate goal is not to exceed $10 a month. That's exactly what we need. So now we can scroll down. Let's call it $10 budget, yeah? It's clear for us what it is about. Now we just adjust this value to $10 and again just list of emails we want that notification to be sent to. And that's it. And here below you've got a summary of how it works. You will be notified when your spend reaches 85%. So if you are at 850, let's say, you will get email. Then it will be at 100% at $10, but the third option, if your forecasted spend is expected to reach 100%. But that's very handy and useful for us. That's exactly what I need. Just create a budget. And this way you can create as many budgets as you want and get notified every time you reach any of those thresholds. If you want to run n8n automation software 24/7 in your own AWS Cloud, then you are in the right place. I will show you step by step how to build and configure a virtual server in AWS, and then how to set it up to run that n8n software for us. And what's the best part? It can run continuously for entire year within that AWS, completely free of charge. And that's why I chose AWS as the provider for today's project. AWS is very reliable and it offers so-called free tier. So for the first year, and for the newly created accounts, you can run stuff free of charge. And even if you want to keep that server running beyond that first free year, it only then costs like $4 or $5 a month anyways, after that free year I mean. So it's not the end of the world either. Note that we already had a video showing how to run n8n locally, but that was a very basic setup where you had to be on the same network as your n8n server to be able to run and create new workflows. That was very quick and easy to build setup that you could run on your laptop or PC, but you will have a problem using external webhooks or triggers or, to be honest, any traffic that needs to be initiated from outside of your network. You would have to configure some additional third-party tools to make it happen. What we are building today is something different. It's a solution where the n8n instance is available over the internet, so you can access this server from anywhere in the world, which means you don't have to be at home or on the same local network to be able to access your n8n. I will also show you how to buy and set up a domain for our n8n service, so you can access it using something like https n8n.automationavenue.com instead of typing the IP address and the port number. By the end of this video, you will have n8n platform up and running in AWS. So let's get started. The first thing you need is obviously an AWS account. And it's very easy to create. I have a dedicated video just for that process. So if you want to follow this video step by step from now on, maybe watch that previous video first, get your AWS account ready, and only then go back to this video. And I would also say that there is another prerequisite. Although it's optional, I would suggest to set up so-called budget in AWS. Because even though our virtual server will be running free of charge, you might be tempted or you might want to use some other paid features within AWS. And that AWS Budget service is there just to make sure that you are notified of any charges detected by AWS Account. It's very quick and easy process to get that AWS Budget configured, so I would highly recommend that. The fact is, I will use one of those paid services today because I want to buy a domain for our n8n platform, because even though it's possible to get a free domain, free of charge, I prefer to get one directly from AWS for like $2 or $3 a year and have a proper root domain rather than some free subdomain from some third parties. And as you can see, I already have an AWS account, I already have budgets configured, even more than one, so we can now start building our server for the n8n automation software. And first thing I need to do is to go to that EC2 service. It's Elastic Compute Cloud within AWS. That's where you create your virtual servers. And then you choose the region where you want your server to be built. And it's your choice, but I will choose a region that is close to me, which is London, EU West 2 region. AWS will switch me to that region, and now I can build my virtual server. I say launch instance, this orange field, and now we are presented with that web page. We can choose a name for our server. I will just call it n8n. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It's just so you can recognize what it is. Then we scroll down and we can choose our operating system. And I want to run it on Ubuntu operating system. And our method today will work for any Ubuntu and Debian operating systems, and with a little adjustments it can work for any other systems really, but you will see later on what I mean. I choose Ubuntu, and I will choose Ubuntu version 22.04. Even though 24.04 is newer, I think 22.04 is more stable. It says that some of the changes will be removed or blah blah, but it doesn't really matter, you just confirm the changes. And this is our operating system now chosen for our server. So I scroll down, and here is the instance type, which is the size of my server. But now let me go back to that free tier. You can see here that the free tier, in your first year of opening AWS account, you have 750 hours every single month of T2 micro instance or T3 micro where T2 isn't available. And have a look here, it says free tier eligible, and that's what you want to choose, the one that you can run free of charge for a year. So for me it's T3 micro, but you have to make sure that your operating system is also free tier eligible. And Ubuntu indeed is free tier eligible. So I've got operating system, I've got server type, and you can even see here, even after that year, it costs just 1 cent per hour to run it. Not bad, isn't it? But let's scroll down. Keeper. A keeper is so-called SSH key that you need to be able to log on to your server remotely. And I don't have a keeper. Oh, I've got some, but it doesn't really matter. You will not have any keepers, so what we need to click is that create new keeper. I'll click on that. We can choose a name for it. I will call mine n8n keeper. Something like that. Again, doesn't really matter what you call it, it's just a name. So I say create a keeper. And look at that, it will download so-called private key to your local server. So you will find it in downloads, that n8n keeper.pem. We will work with it later, but just remember that this has been downloaded from AWS automatically to your local server, whatever device you're using right now, That's the keeper. Keeper is sorted. We scroll down, and now we have network settings. And in network settings, we want to make sure the public IP address is enabled. We will need a public IP. And there are ways to run this server without public IP. You can, for example, configure Cloudflare tunnels, or you can use AWS CloudFront service and keep this server behind those services. And it is considered safer, but the way we will set up our server today can also be considered a safe solution. Why? Because allow SSH traffic, I will lock it down, not from anywhere, not that anybody can just log on to my server, I will change it to my IP. I will be only able to log on to my server and manage my server only from my current IP address, which is my home location. So I say allow SSH traffic from this IP. What's this IP address? If I go to the internet and I ask what is my IP, that's basically it. This is my IP address. We can see it finishes with 78, and indeed it's here 1778. That's my IP and only I can access this server. That makes it pretty safe. We will want to add another option though for our security group. We want to allow HTTPS traffic from the internet to our server, because that's how we are going to access our n8n service over HTTPS protocol. So with those two settings, we are now fine. We also have public IP. We can scroll down. And by the way, that public IPv4 address that we configured, that we left enabled, that's also free of charge, or I mean 750 hours per month are free of charge. And here for storage, we can see that 30 gigabytes of EBS storage is also free of charge. By default, we have it here set to 8, so I will change it to 30 because that's still free of charge. I will change the type to GP3. GP means general purpose, and you can see even here, free tier eligible customers can get up to 30 gig of EBS general purpose SSD. And GP3 is a newer version, so I choose GP3. And we have to click one more thing, is this advanced tab. And here, that little arrow, and I want to have it encrypted. And it's not optional, you have to have this so-called root volume, you have to have it encrypted, otherwise you will get error when creating a virtual server. It simply needs to be encrypted. And now that's all we really need. I can now click Launch Instance. So I just do that, and my instance is being created. It will only take a few seconds, and already done. It says successfully initiated launch of the instance. And this is my instance ID. If I click on that, it will take me straight to this instance, which means instance is a virtual server in the cloud. And that's it. I have all the details about my virtual server. I have two IP addresses allocated. This is so-called private IP address, but I'm more interested about my public IP address. And my public IP address is 13.40.28.247. If I click on those instances here in top left corner, I can indeed see my virtual server. The state is running, however the status check is still initializing. It might take a minute or two before it's fully up and running. But we don't have to wait for anything. Once it's ticked here, I can choose this connect button. I can click on that, go to that SSH client, and here we have a little instruction. It's instruction on how to connect to our server. It says open an SSH client, and for me, because I'm also on Ubuntu, this is my laptop, local laptop. It's also running, it's MacBook, but it's running Ubuntu in parallels. So it's a bit complicated, but never mind. Basically, if I go, first of all, if I run command pwd, that shows me my current location. My location, my folder I'm currently in is home parallels. So I can cd to downloads, and here I can run command ls-l, and I can see that private key that was created during the process in my downloads folder. I can also, you can also click these files, and if I go to downloads, that's basically the same location, right? It's n8n keeper.pem. Not sure what this file is, but we are concentrating on that one. And that n8n keeper is a private SSH key I want to use to connect to my server. And it says that if I want to connect to my server, I actually have to run this command first, change mod 400 and then this file. So I will copy this, and being in the same folder where my file is, I will just paste this command. What it does, if I run lsl, it changes the permission. It now only, this means that only the owner can read this file. Previously, it was read-write permission, so it changes the permission for this file. And it says that now I can connect to my server, and it gives me this example, ssh-y. I can copy it and paste it, but the fact is I will shorten it a bit here, because I don't have to use DNS, I can use public IP address as well. So I can do this, use just the public IP, and here is the location for this file. And full location is home, parallels, and this file. I know it's a bit confusing, but I can simply write something like home, parallels. This command, this full command, I can run it from anywhere. I don't even have to be in the same folder where this file is now, because I specified full path. And if I run this command now, it should take me to my server. I should log on to my server using this command. Let's press enter. I say yes. You have to say yes. It asks you if you are sure what you are connecting to. Yes, I know what I'm connecting to. Oh, it says permission denied. Oh, you know what? I'm stupid. And you are probably watching that and, Marek, what are you doing? It's not this location, home parallels, but then our key is in downloads, yes? Of course. Little mistake. Let's add that. Downloads. Basically, if I go here, sorry about that. This is where my key is. And the full path, if I click here, is home, parallels, downloads, and then this file. And now you can see a little lock here as well. That means it's locked only. It can only be read by current owner. And that's good. That was added when we run that change mod command. Alright, let me try again. Anyways, press enter. We are going straight to our server. This is our server. This is private IP address 18.151. I can double check. Let's click on that instance. Private IP is 18.151. That's correct. And if I run df-h, I can see indeed it's 30 gig. It's shown as 29 gigabytes, but it's basically 30 gig disk that we configured during the configuration process. Which means, yes, it's indeed my server in the cloud. And I can log on to it remotely from my home, because I'm logged on from my laptop, from my MacBook, and my server is in AWS Cloud. Maybe I will show you one more thing. Let me exit that. The command is just exit. I'm back on my laptop. I will use up arrow. This was the long command I had to use to log on to my server, yes? But what I can do, I can run command called alias, and then I can, let me make it bigger, wider, and I can call that alias something, maybe n8n. Then I say equals, and then a single quote. Then I have to go to the end and also add a single quote, which we will make all of that one long command. Now I press enter, and if I run now alias, that's basically it. That's my alias. And what this alias does, I can now simply type n8n. Instead of running ssh-i ubuntu blah blah blah, I can now simply say n8n, and that n8n will run this long command for me. Let me show you. I press enter, and bam, I'm straight back on my cloud server. Let me clear that maybe. And now it's always considered a best practice if you run sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get upgrade. And then I add -y, which will answer yes to any possible questions. And what it does, it will simply update all packages and all software that this current server is running on. I just press enter, and I just wait. That upgrade is optional, I would say, but apt-get update, that first command, is definitely something you want to run every time you build a new server. Now it asks me to restart some services, which is fine. I just use tab button to switch to that OK, and now press enter, and that process is completed. But, which is another good practice, you want to reboot the server right now. I say sudo reboot. Press enter. You will be obviously disconnected from the server now, but you only have to wait like 20-30 seconds maybe, and then we can log on back to our server. And remember now, I only have to run command n8n, which is our alias for that long command. Maybe 15 seconds passed. Let me try already. Press enter. Oh, we're already back in. If I say uptime, our server is up 0 minutes, because it was just rebooted. That's all for our server build. Now we start configuring the n8n service on this server. What I will do then, I will go to Google. We are done with AWS for now, but we will get back to this service. For now, I say n8n AWS, something like that. I just simply need official documentation from n8n. If I click on that first link, it will take me to server setups for Amazon Web Services. And you might think that this is what we need, but this is to run n8n on another AWS service called Elastic Kubernetes service. And Kubernetes is like a cluster that can auto-scale. That's not what we need. What we will use today is a Docker Compose option. I will click on that Docker Compose, and basically this is the option that you can use for any other provider as well. I configured the server in AWS, but you can use Docker Compose approach for any other cloud solution. Like if you have your server in DigitalOcean or Hetzner or Azure, you can follow exactly the same steps like we are doing here. Let's have a look what they say here then. And they say here install Docker and Docker Compose. And there are many commands, but what you can do, you can simply click on that square icon that says copy to clipboard. We will copy all those commands, and in fact first command is also apt-get update, even twice you can see. But what it will do, it will install everything we need on our server. I mean Docker and Docker Compose at least. So I go back to the terminal and I simply paste it. All commands are here, I just press enter. And wait. Looks like they didn't add that -y, that's why you have to manually type yes. Yes, I want to continue, press enter again. And that's job done. We go back to that website. We have installed Docker and Docker Compose, so scroll further. It asks to verify if the Docker and Docker Compose were installed properly. We can run Docker version. We can basically click that copy to clipboard again. I'll go back to my server, maybe clear first, and paste it there. And we can see we have Docker version 28.3.3 and the Docker Compose version 2.39.1, which means they are both installed and ready for us to use. Now we can scroll further. It says optional non-root user access. And you know what? It's a good option. You will not have to use that sudo every time when you run Docker commands. It's not a big deal, it's optional, but I will just copy to clipboard, go back again, paste, enter, and that's it, that's job done. We can go further. And here we have DNS setup, and it says to host n8n online or on a network, create a dedicated subdomain pointed at your server. And I know it might sound scary, but it's actually a pretty simple process. But what we need is a subdomain. And to get subdomain, we need to first buy a domain. And as I said, there are ways to get a domain free of charge, but I'm not really a fan of that approach. I'd rather pay $2 or $3 and have a proper domain from AWS. What I will do then, I will go back to AWS. I will need different service now. The service is called Route 53. You can search here for that Route 53. You click on that, and you are presented with that web page. Let's click on that Get Started. And it says register a domain. You have other options, but no, we exactly need this option, register a domain. So I again say get started. And the domain is like google.com or youtube.com. I will search for n8n. Let's see what's available, because it says check availability for a domain. I will search, and I can see n8n.com is not available. Somebody already purchased that. But here below we have some options. But I already can see they're all expensive. I'm not gonna pay $15 for a domain. I could have it as n8n.red for $23, but I'm not happy with these prices. I can tick here those standard pricing, and here I can sort them according to price. And now you can see that domain that finishes with .click is the cheapest. It costs only $3 a year. It's a price per year, so it makes it 25 cents per month, yes? Let's see if n8n.click is available then. I will search for n8n.click, and unfortunately it is not. n8n.click is not available. But n9n.click is available, and it costs $3. And I know it might not be perfect, even pronunciation n9n.click, but I don't care. You can search further and further, personalize it more, but I will just pick this one. $3, I'm happy with that. I say select. It says the domain registration fee is $3, and I'm happy with that. I proceed to checkout. And here you can choose if you want this domain to be automatically renewed every year. And no, I'm not happy with that. This is basically just my test, so I will just run it for a year. It will cost me $3, and close to the end of that year, I will get a notification that this domain will expire if I want to renew it or not. But I will not renew it, so I'm okay with this setting, and it can simply expire in 1 year. I just say next, and contact type, I say person, and I put my personal details here. Fill that in, I say next. Now just a confirmation, I say I have read and agreed to domain registration agreement, and I submit. It says the request is in progress, and it might take several minutes, but usually it's pretty quick. I can refresh it here. Oh, so I clicked hosted zones and it's already shown in hosted zone. Because when you register domain, you will also have hosted zone created. And it looks like it's already here. Like if I click on my domain, this first part is already done. It might take a few more minutes to be shown up in registered domains as well, but really, hosted zone is something I'm even more interested. You will see shortly why. Because if we go back to that website and follow the instructions further, what we now have to do is to create a subdomain and point it to server IP address as a type record. That's what they say, yes? And all that means is that I have to go back to my Route 53, to hosted zones, to my domain n9n click, and I create a record. And they said it needs to be a type record, which is chosen by default anyways. The value is the public IP address of our server. So if I go back to my server, this is my public IP address. And by the way, if you go to the server itself, if you run curl ifconfig me, that's basically the same information. That's your public IP address. I will copy it from here. It's .28.247. If I go here, .28.247. It's alternative way of getting your public IP address. And now I go to that Route 53 and I want to paste it here. And now this is my domain. It's called n9n.click, and whatever I put here is so-called subdomain. You can add multiple records by adding something in front of your domain. I will call it maybe server1. So basically what I create now is server1.n9n.click, and that record will point to this IP address. That's what they want. I say create records, and this record has been created for me. We can see it here, which means now I can go back to Docker Compose, configuration setup, and we can follow further steps. It says create an .env file. It says create a directory, make a directory, and then cd into that directory. Alright, I will go back to my server, but I'm currently in home directory on the remote server, which is home Ubuntu. And it's up to you where you want to create that folder they are talking about, but it should be somewhere within that home directory, I would say. So I'll go back and I will copy both those commands. Paste them here. This one created the folder, and this one took me into that folder. If I run pwd now, I'm in home Ubuntu n8n compose folder now. Let's go back, and they say inside the n8n compose directory create .env file to customize your n8n instance details. So what I want to do is copy this, all of that again. I go back to my cloud server and I say nano.env. Nano is a text editor. It will create .env file for me. Enter. It will be empty though. So I can right click and paste what they asked us to paste. But what I have to change now, my domain name, I bought a domain, yes, but the domain name was called n9n.click. This was a domain, and server1 was a subdomain. So I have to go back, and I say subdomain is server1. And now the time zone, this is not correct for me. I am in Europe, but in London. And that's where my server is created anyways. And SSL email, I also want to change to the actual email I want to use for that. That's some testing email I created for that purpose. And I say now Ctrl-O to write it out, now Enter, and Ctrl-X to exit. This file is now created. And I can run cat.env just to check if everything is correct. But it looks like it's correct. n9n.click is my domain, server1 was my subdomain, time zone, you can look up, you can Google simply what are available time zones. I remember that mine is Europe, London, and email, whatever email you want to use. That's it. So we go back, this is done now. Next step, they say, create local files directory inside your project directory, and we are still in that project directory. This is what they mean, n8n compose. We created in previous step. We are still there, so I just copy that command, I paste it, And if I run lsl now, we have created another folder inside n8n compose folder. Let's go back and let's go further. It asks us to create compose.yaml file. Paste the following in the file. I copy everything again. I go back here. I say nano compose.yaml. This will create file compose.yaml and I will be able to edit it. I press enter and I paste all the output again. And it's pretty long output, and what it does really, it installs and runs two Docker containers, Traffic and n8n, and it uses the so-called variables that we configured in previous file .env. For example, this SSL email, this value will be read from the previous file. That's why it's so important that we have it configured correctly. And if we scroll down, you can see subdomain, domain name, this is also information, and here again domain name, this is information that we also included in that previous .env file. And what it also does, even though the n8n itself runs on port 5678, this Docker Compose will secure our traffic and we can connect to our server via traffic on port 443, which is HTTPS. And it's considered secure. But this is all the extra information. You don't have to worry about it. You simply can run again Ctrl-O, Enter, Ctrl-X. And if you had everything configured correctly in the previous file, in this one, you don't have to study really what that compose YAML does. For your convenience, I also created a PDF document that you can download, free of charge of course. That document will include all steps and all commands that I run here today. Because I know it's quite a lot of information involved here in the process, but you can just grab that document using the link below, and I hope that might help you to follow all of these steps involved. We go back to these instructions, scroll further, and this is just a little instruction, what it will do, but if we scroll even further, we can start Docker Compose now. It says sudo docker compose app-d. I will copy it again. Let's go here, paste, press enter, and everything should work. And honestly, we didn't even have to run that sudo, because we ran that previous command, which should run Docker Compose with no sudo. But I'm lazy, I just pasted it, so doesn't really matter. The images are being downloaded for Traffic and for n8n. And once we have them locally, the service should start. It might take several minutes even, so let's just wait. It took less than a minute actually for me. And it says we have two containers running, we have two volumes created, and one network was created. And we can confirm it. We can say docker ps. That shows us that we have two Docker containers running indeed. One is n8n and one is Traffic. They are up for 41 seconds. And we can also run docker volume ls. And indeed, we can see that two Docker volumes were created. That makes this service up and running. And remember, we are still on this cloud server, but now I should be able to access my service from anywhere in the world. Not only from this laptop, but from any other laptop as well. And to access my n8n, I should simply go to this website. Let me copy it. Let's have a look. https:// and I paste my server1.n8n.click. Press enter. Some browsers will show you this information, some will not. You have to go to advanced, accept risk and continue. But it's really not a risk. I will show you what it is. But you can see it works, yes? This is my n8n platform and I can use it from anywhere just by going to this URL. And what that error was about, have that little log. It says connection not secure. It is secure, but if you click that more information, it says this website does not supply ownership information. And my domain has ownership information. It's simply how it's resolved here in that Docker, in that Traffic, and how Let's Encrypt gives us the SSL cert for this service. It's a bit complicated, but what I mean, some browsers will display that error, but some browsers will simply ignore that and you will not even notice anything. Believe me, this connection is secure because it says HTTPS. You have SSL TLS encryption for that traffic between you and your server in the cloud. And that is our setup completed, up and running. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you for watching. You might be wondering, okay, so what other videos or courses I should watch to progress further? And the answer is, you don't need to watch anything else. From now on, you should focus on running your own n8n software and building your own solutions. And this is a very common mistake. People, sometimes including me still, I have to admit, often spend too much time watching tutorials instead of taking their current knowledge and start practicing with real-life solutions. The fact is, you already know how to host your own n8n software, you know what nodes and workflows are, how to build an AI agent, and how to work with APIs or connect to other services. So you are now ready to work on your own solutions. And if you don't know what you should build, then head to n8n website and search for workflow templates. You will see thousands and thousands of examples and ready-to-use templates there. And you can sort them by popularity or customer reviews to get an idea what other people are building and what the current hot topics are. And of course, you will stumble upon some problems, but that is the most efficient way to learn and to become professional. You have to know how to resolve issues, because there will always be challenges when creating more and more complex workflows. Remember to use official documentations from n8n or look up solutions to specific problems you might encounter. But from now on, the best way forward is to create your own workflows. Start by building something simple and then expand on it. You might also think about what automations other businesses might need. Maybe you even go and ask some people running local businesses what they need or what tools would help them to save some time, So yeah, that's all I wanted to pass in this training, and I'm really happy that you have completed it, and I hope you found it useful. Thank you for watching then, and I hope to see you next time. Marek.